Chapter 172. My brother Yunshu is deeply virtuous. Before Gu Yundong could regain his senses, she saw a figure rush in like a gust of wind. He ran to Madame Guest's side and squatted down to look at her feet. Madame Gu pushed him anxiously. Don't. There's someone here. I'm fine. I've already applied the medicine. Wenzheng had indeed smelled the medicinal wine. Seeing that Madame Gu was not injured, he heaved a sigh of relief. As soon as he returned, he heard from the gatekeeper that the students of the headmaster of Dongyi Academy had come to cause trouble. He was extremely anxious and immediately ran in. When he heard Madame Guest's words, he stood up and turned to look at Gu Yundong. I heard from Uncle Quan that you saved my wife. Thank you, Mississippi. You're welcome. Gu Yundong smiled. She had finally met the legendary Wenzheng. He was a little more refined than she had imagined. Judging from how nervous he was about his wife just now, he should be someone who valued relationships. Wenzheng thought quickly. Not only did Uncle Quan, the gatekeeper, say that Dongyi Academy had come to cause trouble, but he also said that Madame had sprained her ankle. He also said that the girl who helped them was dressed as a servant of the Lu family to send Lu Yi to school. Coupled with what happened in the Lu family, he quickly thought of Gu Yundong's identity. Therefore, after Wenzheng sat down, he asked, Miss Gu, are you from Yongfu village and know the eldest young master of the Lu family? Yes. Gu Yundong nodded. Wenzheng tapped his fingers on the table. Then, is there something you need from me today? After a pause, he added, you saved my wife. As long as I can help, I won't refuse. She had deliberately disguised herself as a servant to come to the door and knew the eldest young master of the Lu family. She must have known his identity. Gu Yundong's expression turned serious. Since Master Qin has said so, I won't stand on ceremony. I have a 5-year-old brother who's really adorable, understanding, and righteous. He's sensible, lively, cheerful, and smart, miss. I know that your brother is a very, very good child. You can just get to the point. Wenzheng was slightly sweating. He had never seen anyone praise their child so much. Shouldn't she be a little humble? Oh. Gu Yundong coughed lightly. It's like this. I hope Master Qin can take my brother Yunshu as a student and teach him how to read and write. That's it? Gu Yundong nodded seriously. I heard from young Master Lu that teacher Qin is knowledgeable. I saw that the Lu family sent their children here to school. I think teacher Qin must be good. Wenzheng took a sip of tea. Well, at least Lu Wei had some knowledge. I've always taken in students based on their aptitude and character. If they catch my eye, no matter if they're rich or poor, they'll still be my students. I haven't seen your brother yet. Miss, why don't you bring him over to take a look? Gu Yundong smiled. No exceptions? Didn't the Lu family send Lu Yi here because of favors? Although she trusted her brother's qualifications and character. Madame Gu reached out and nudged Wenzheng. The corners of Wenzheng's mouth twitched, and he coughed lightly. That's true. Miss helped my family a lot today, so I can naturally relax my requirements. As for how relaxed. Sai, who asked him to love his wife? That was a 5-year-old child. Whether he was stupid or had a bad character, he could more or less turn things around if he put in more effort. Gu Yundong was relieved to hear that. Apart from that, I have something else to discuss with Master Qin. Chapter 173. As you see, this is white sugar. Wenzheng frowned slightly. Hey. Don't push your luck. He had a temper too. Gu Yundong looked to the side and said, I want to talk to Mr. Qin alone about this. Wenzheng's frown deepened. However, he remembered that he also wanted to ask this girl if the Lu family's bet had anything to do with her, so he agreed. He asked the maidservant to bring his daughter out, and also asked the manservant who was originally standing at the door to leave. However, he did not let Madame Gu leave. I don't have anything to hide from Madame. If you have something to say, just say it. Coincidentally, I have something to ask you. Gu Yundong had no objections. Instead, she felt that such a respectful and trusting couple was more reassuring. Still, Master Qin, do you have something to ask me? This was a little strange. Then you can ask first. It was also a good opportunity to get to know Qin Wenzheng better. After all, she still needed to be cautious about what she was going to say next. Qin Wenzheng did not decline. He was originally quite anxious. Miss Gu is from Yongfu village and is friends with the eldest young master of the Lu family. You should know about the bet between him and the Tao family, right? I want to know if this matter is related to Miss. So it was this. She nodded. It does concern me. Qin Wenzheng's expression suddenly became serious. In that case, Miss is really the woman who claimed to make white sugar and made young Master Lu believe her without a doubt? There shouldn't be anyone else. Qin Wenzheng could not help but raise his voice slightly. Miss, do you know that this matter has already reached the prefectural city? If we don't control it, the consequences will be unimaginable. Madame Gu tugged at his sleeve worriedly. Qin Wenzheng exhaled slightly and continued, I went to the Lu family today and met the eldest young master of the Lu family. I originally wanted to persuade him to reduce the matter, but he refused to listen to my advice. He seemed to trust Miss Gu very much, but he refused to tell me the reason when I asked him. Miss Gu, can you tell me the reason? The reason is very simple. Young Master Lu believes that I can make white sugar. Master Qin, do you believe it? Qin Wenzheng suddenly wanted to laugh. Miss Gu, this is the first time we've met. Even now, I still don't know your name, family background, and character. How can I believe that you have such ability? She made a lot of sense. Gu Yundong nodded and bent down to pick up the basket that had been placed on the table. Then, she pulled off the cloth covering it and revealed a ceramic jar. Then will you believe that I have the ability to do so after seeing this? Qin Wenzheng was stunned. He looked at the jar and then exchanged glances with Madame Gu. Master, can you open it and take a look? Gu Yundong made an inviting gesture. Qin Wenzheng paused for a moment. With a tense expression, he opened the lid and peeked out. The things inside were fine and white, as if they were salt, but also not. You can try it. This time, Gu Yundong was more careful and prepared a small spoon. After all, the teacher was a scholar. He could not just swoop with his hand like Lu Wei. Qin Wenzheng suspiciously picked up a small spoon and scooped a little. After hesitating for a moment, seeing that Madame Gu was about to eat it herself, he brought it to his mouth and took a shallow sip. The next moment, his pupils constricted and he suddenly stood up from his chair. Sweet, Gu Yundong also stood up. As you can see, this is white sugar. Do you believe that I have the ability now? Qin Wenzheng's entire body shook, and his eyes suddenly became bright. Chapter 174. Second suggestion. Gu Yundong's hair stood on end from his gaze. She had the illusion that she was shining. She calmed herself down and said, Master? Qin Wenzheng sat down again and stuffed the spoon in his hand into his mouth. He ate the spoonful of sugar and closed his eyes. As if he was savoring the aftertaste, he carefully pursed his lips. Gu Yundong, can you not make it sound like you're doing drugs? When Qin Wenzheng opened his eyes again, he was much calmer, but his eyes were still burning with ecstasy. He took a deep breath. Lady Gu, did you really make this? Yes. Good. You've made a huge contribution to our country. Contribution to the country? No. Gu Yundong smiled. Master, don't flatter me. I'm just an ordinary farm girl. I'm selling this sugar for money. I can't bear such a heavy burden. Mr. Qin's mouth twitched. Why wasn't she excited at all? But Miss Gu, you know that if you offer the formula to the imperial court, what you get will be far more important than silver. Gu Yundong nodded. Perhaps you're right. I can get fame, praise, a reward, and even be recorded in history books. Oh, it would probably be written that she was from the Gu family of Fengkai County and her name would not even be mentioned. Qin Wenzheng nodded. Wasn't that very clear? Isn't that good? At least Qin Wenzheng wanted such a reputation. Gu Yindong said, of course it's good, but what about after the flowers and applause? I'm still Gu Yindong from Yongfu village. My formula is given to the imperial court, so I can't use it. I even have to buy it if I need it. In the future, she would also be in the jam and candy business. These needed a large amount of white sugar, but the price of white sugar in the grocery store was simply ruthless. So what if the emperor got to know her because of this? He would forget about her in less than a month. Without her source of income, her life was probably worse than before. Just like the current Olympic champions. They were so exciting and loved when they brought glory to their country. However, after they retired, how many of these athletes became poor? After the applause, only she could plan for herself. Gu Yindong admitted that she was a selfish person and not that noble. Qin Wenzheng frowned. That was not wrong. However, he said, then why did you come to see me today? After the sugar is released, I'm afraid many people will covet it. Therefore, I want to find a reliable and capable person to cooperate with. Master Qin is not an ordinary teacher. Let's cooperate and split the profits. How about that? Qin Wenzheng was stunned. This girl actually had such an idea. But, he shook his head slightly and frowned. Although I'm not a rich person, I'm not short of money. Besides, this white sugar is a hot potato to me. He wanted this share, but if the emperor found out, he would definitely not let him off. This was white sugar. It was unique. It was not like he was cooperating with others to open a restaurant or shop. It was easy to get a share of the profits from those, but it was not easy to get them from white sugar. Gu Yindong was not surprised by his rejection. She smiled and said, Master Qin, why don't you listen to my second suggestion? There's more. Qin Wenzheng could not help but sit up straight. Speak. Chapter 175, Qin Wenzheng is unromantic. Gu Yindong pointed at the white sugar. The formula for the white sugar can be presented to the imperial court. Qin Wenzheng's eyes lit up, but she continued, but there are conditions. What conditions? The imperial court will allow me to privately make and sell it. Damn it, she was clearly the one who made it. She still had to obtain the imperial court's permission to make deals. It was so annoying. But Gu Yindong knew that it was impossible for her to keep the technique of extracting white sugar in her hands. This thing was not like recipe or embroidery skills. This person did not have it, but that person did. They could hide it as an inheritance and let the future generations inherit the skills. White sugar was related to the livelihood of the people. In the future, it would have to enter thousands of families. It was like salt. She was just a small farmer girl. How could she dare to monopolize it? She would be killed in minutes. However, she could let the imperial court monopolize it. Seeing that Qin Wenzheng was silent, Gu Yindong continued, Master Qin, let's face the reality. If you want me to offer the formula, this is the only condition. Of course, the imperial court can also disagree. You can also coerce and tempt me, but nobody wants to see the bad consequences. Although I want to do business in private, don't worry. My quantity won't be huge. Besides, what I want to do the most isn't the white sugar business. At this point, she lowered her voice slightly. However, the imperial court can refine it in large quantities. Master Qin, the treasury is empty now, right? Don't look at me like that. To say something disrespectful, we all know what kind of person the late emperor was. Moreover, as soon as the current emperor ascended the throne, he immediately sent a large sum of disaster relief silver to Yongning Prefecture. Just think about how much silver there is in the treasury. Qin Wenzheng's expression turned grave. Gu Yindong lowered her voice even more. But this white sugar can help the emperor earn a lot of money. White sugar looks fair, but there's not much of it. I heard that most of the nobles in the capital like to compare. If they know that there's such a thing, wouldn't they think of ways to buy it? But white sugar is in the hands of the court. Isn't the price just how much the emperor wants? Besides, white sugar can also be exported to our neighboring countries. Not only can it showcase our country's advanced technology, but it can also earn their money, right? Wenzheng followed her train of thought. The more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. Although sugar would be commonly distributed to the families of ordinary people in the future, the emperor could still take advantage of these few years to earn a sum of money to fill the national treasury, right? Gu Yundong continued, as for me, even if I make a private transaction, I will only set the price to be about the same as the imperial courts. I don't need much, so most people still have to ask the emperor for it, right? As long as Master Qin is my backer and doesn't let others find trouble with me, I will tell you the formula. Wenzheng was silent. After thinking for a long time, he finally nodded seriously. All right, then can I go to Yongfu village now to see how you refine this white sugar? Master Qin, you should ask the higher-ups first and confirm it. Wenzheng looked at her deeply. You don't look like a farmer girl at all. I also think I'm very smart. Madame Gu, who was sitting quietly at the side, could not help but laugh out loud. Wenzheng's tense face could not help but twitch. He shook his head and laughed. Then Miss Gu, wait a moment. I'll go write a letter. As he spoke, he took the white candy and left. Madame Gu had been watching. When she heard that Wenzheng was leaving, she wondered if she could have a bite of such sweet and white sugar. She did not expect her husband, who was insensitive, to take it away. Chapter 176, Family goes to Yongfu village. Wenzheng quickly finished writing the letter and got someone to send the jar of white sugar to the capital. After that, he returned and chatted with Gu Yundong for a long time. Madame Gu instructed the servants to prepare lunch and let Gu Yundong eat at the Qin residence before leaving. As soon as she left, Madame Gu asked Wenzheng worriedly, will this matter work? Wenzheng looked at the distant carriage and reached out to hold Madame Gu's hand. He said in a low voice, the emperor is a monarch who cherishes talent. Madame Gu understood that it was most likely possible. If that's the case, Miss Gu can privately manufacture and sell white sugar. That will attract a lot of attention. It won't be difficult for the people in the capital to find out. Speaking of which, even if Lady Gu gave the entire formula to the imperial court and did not care about it, those who wanted to find out would still be able to find out that she was the inventor. Don't worry. I've been in Fengkai County for a few years. Now that the county magistrate is under the Dai Prefecture magistrate, those people will have to ask for my permission if they want to interfere. Wenzheng smiled. I'm afraid I'll be busy from now on. My wife, please bear with me. You're going to be busy. Didn't you just promise Miss Gu to accept her brother as a student? There's no hurry. At the very least, we have to wait for news from the capital before we have the mood. Wenzheng's judgment was correct. 5 days later, a letter came from the capital and was sent to the Qin residence overnight. It was a thick letter, which showed how important it was and how much the emperor valued it. Wenzheng opened the letter and smiled. The next morning, he brought Madame Gu and his daughter, Xian'er, to Yongfu village. When the carriage entered Yongfu village, the villagers were no longer as curious as Gu Yundong's first visit. After all, ever since the Gu family bought a carriage and the Lu family's young master often came over, the carriage was no longer rare. However, there were still children following behind the carriage. This was the first time Xian'er had come to such a place. Seeing that the children were different from the children from her school, she was slightly excited and wanted to get out of the carriage, but she was stopped by Madame Gu. This young lady was not a quiet person. If she really wanted to play with children of the same age, she would definitely go crazy. Her mother would not be able to pull her back. Wenzheng lifted the curtain and asked the child outside, may I ask how to get to Gu Yundong's house? At first, he was afraid that these children did not know. After all, he did not know Gu Yundong's father's name. Unexpectedly, the children nodded in unison. The Gu family? Other families might be unknown, but who did not know the Gu family? The most imposing green brick tiled house was her house. It was very impressive. One of the children immediately shouted in a certain direction, Yunshu, Yunshu, someone is looking for your family. Is it a relative of yours? The child was a little envious. Yunshu's family was rich, and so were her relatives. Looking at the big carriage, they were even richer than her family. Wenzheng followed the child's gaze and saw a child standing far away, wiping a little girl's hands with a handkerchief. Perhaps because he did not hear the child's cry, Yunshu did not turn around. The child wanted to call out again, but Wenzheng waved his hand, got off the carriage, and walked over. Yunshu? Wasn't this the name of the younger brother that Gu Yundong had mentioned before? Wenzheng slowly walked behind him and heard the young and patient little voice. Chapter 177, Heart of Love for Talents. Let's see if you still dare to run so fast. Fortunately, your clothes are thick and you didn't fall too hard. If you fall and hurt yourself, won't you cry? Don't run next time, understand? If you want to find me, just call me loudly. Will I not wait for you? Yunshu carefully wiped her palm with a handkerchief. She had probably hit a small stone and it was a little red. Fortunately, her skin was not broken. The little girl's eyes were red, but she shook her head hard. I'm not running anymore. Give me 2 puffs. As she spoke, she stretched out her small hand. Yunshu seriously blew on it twice. Then, the little girl smiled in satisfaction. All right, it doesn't hurt anymore. Let's go home and change your clothes. Yunshu held her small hand. Unexpectedly, just as he turned around, he saw Wenzheng standing behind him. Yunshu blinked. What can I do for you? Wenzheng quietly listened to the siblings' conversation, and his impression of this child improved a lot. Such a young child usually ran out to play with his friends. It was really rare for him to take care of his younger sister so carefully without any impatience. Moreover, this child was good-looking and polite. He heard from Gu Yundong that he had studied and knew how to read. It seemed that he had not studied for nothing. I'm looking for your eldest sister, Gu Yundong. I'm from the county. My surname is Qin. Wenzheng thought that since Gu Yundong was looking for a teacher for her younger brother, she had at least told him about the teacher. If he introduced himself like this, Yunshu should know who he was. Unexpectedly, he only nodded and asked, Do you know my eldest sister? Why are you looking for her? Wenzheng was speechless. The Gu girl had actually never mentioned him to her brother. Wenzheng coughed lightly and calmed himself down before saying, A few days ago, Miss Gu went to the county city and helped my wife. Today, I specially brought my wife and daughter to visit. Yunshu was happy to hear that. My elder sister is very good. She's kind, beautiful, and capable. When she sees that your wife is in trouble, she will definitely help her. Yunka nodded. She's also smart. Wenzheng looked up at the sky and recalled Gu Yundong praising her younger brother with a bunch of idioms that day. It seemed that this was inherited from the family. Siblings did not even have to be humble when praising each other. Yunshu's attitude towards Wenzheng immediately improved. Then I'll bring you there. Follow me. With that, he held Yunk's hand and walked forward. They were only at the village entrance now. Their house was at the foot of the mountain, and it was still a little far away. Wenzheng wanted the two of them to get into the carriage. Unexpectedly, Yunshu shook his head firmly. Well, just walk. Eldest sister had said that they could not get into a stranger's carriage. What if they were kidnapped? He and his sister were both very beautiful, cute, and eye-catching. When Wenzheng heard this, he did not get into the carriage. He let the servant drive behind him while he accompanied the two little fellows. As they walked, they chatted. The more they talked, the more Wenzheng liked the siblings. He realized that Yunshu was very smart and talented in studying. In addition, he had a good character. Qin Wenzheng developed a love for talent and wanted to nurture him well. They soon arrived at the foot of the mountain. Although the Gu family had not moved to their new home, Gu Yundong was usually here during the day. Hence, Gu Yunshu brought them to the entrance of the new house and shouted, eldest sister, a Mr. and Mrs. Qin from the county city are here to look for you." Qin Wenzheng, on the other hand, stood where he was, staring at the green brick-tiled house in front of him with slightly widened eyes. Chapter 178. This is a scam. The Gu house was actually so big and imposing? Qin Wenzheng could not link the green brick house in front of him to the Gu family. Didn't they say that Gu Yundong's family had fled from elsewhere? Didn't they say that her father had still gone missing? Moreover, when Gu Yundong had chatted with him previously, she had clearly acted as if she was very short of money, and needed white sugar business. This was a scam, a scam. Her house was even better than his. Looking at the stone road at the door, the neat flower beds around, and the brand new bricks, it was even more luxurious than the landlord's house. When Gu Yundong came out, she saw Madame Gu carrying her daughter down from the carriage. She quickly stepped forward with a smile. "Mrs. Qin, you're here. Come in and sit." Madame Gu greeted her and led her daughter into the house. However, after taking a few steps, she realized that Qin Wenzheng was still standing at the same spot. She could not help but turn around to look. At this moment, Qin Wenzheng looked at Gu Yundong angrily and sneered. "Miss Gu's house is really unexpected." When Madame Gu heard this, she looked over and her eyes lit up. Of course, she had seen green brick houses before. She had even seen more exquisite carvings. However, the house in front of her gave off a very different feeling. It was a little different, but it gave people a warm and comfortable feeling. Gu Yundong instantly understood that Qin Wenzheng was angry out of humiliation. Seeing how sarcastic he was, she immediately sighed. "That's not right. This house of mine has cost me all my savings. Now that I'm penniless, I can't even gather enough money to send my brother to school, so I have to work hard to earn money." Gu Yunshu hurriedly said, "I'm not going to school. You don't have to work too hard. You'll be tired." "No." Qin Wenzheng was the first to object. She then turned to look at Gu Yundong, who shrugged. "Let's talk inside." The group of people entered the house and Gu Yundong poured them some sugar water. It was made with white sugar. Compared to brown sugar, it was as if nothing was added. The water was still transparent and clear. It looked very refreshing, but it tasted sweet in his mouth. Madame Gu let out a comfortable breath and looked at her daughter. She saw that she had already gulped it all down and handed the empty cup to Qin Wenzheng for him to pour another cup. Previously, Qin Wenzheng had sent all the white sugar to the capital. He did not leave any for himself, so seriously speaking, this was the first time he had drunk such sugar water. He could not help but nod to himself. It was indeed not bad. After drinking the sugar water, Qin Wenzheng saw the siblings standing quietly beside Gu Yundong, as if they wanted to embolden her. He could not help but smile. "Yunshu, we have something to say to your elder sister. Can you take our Ninger out for a walk?" Qin Anning listened eagerly and excitedly. Her mother had said that she had to be reserved, quiet, and polite when she was a guest at someone else's house, so she had been restraining herself from being too perky, even though she had wanted to talk to Yunshu and Yinka for a long time. Gu Yunshu looked up at his eldest sister, who nodded. He came over and said to Qin Anning, "Let's go. You have to follow us closely. Otherwise, you'll be taken away by the tiger on the mountain." Qin Anning immediately became agitated. "Are there tigers on the mountain? Have you seen them before? Can you take me there? My family had 2 roe deers last time, but they were already dead." Cough. Madame Gu could not help but hold her forehead. Chapter 179. "Let me do it." After the 3 children left, Qin Wenzheng said, "There's a reply from the capital. The emperor has agreed to your conditions. Moreover, the emperor has also instructed that Lady Gu can create and sell as much as she wants. No one will come looking for trouble with you. Of course, the people here referred to those high-ranking officials and nobles who wanted a share on the surface, including people like the Tao family in the county. However, Gu Yundong still had to pay attention to those despicable people. Qin Wenzheng would try his best to help. This couldn't be helped. Since he wanted to do business, he couldn't avoid these troublesome things. Not to mention Gu Yundong, even if it was someone like the Lu family, there would also be someone secretly causing trouble. They would even plant spies to disrupt the family's business. Gu Yundong knew that he was bringing her good news. She immediately nodded. Then I'm relieved. Since it's confirmed, do you want to see the process of making sugar? Of course. Qin Wenzheng was a little excited. He had been looking forward to it for a long time. Gu Yundong brought them to the backyard. The place where sugar was made was in the backyard. Shao Qingyuan was tidying up the sugarcane. When he saw them coming, he washed his hands and walked over. Qin Wenzheng sized him up. Who was this person? What was his relationship with Gu Yundong? He looked tall and mighty, and his eyes were very cold. Just looking at him made people perk up for no reason. Shao Qingyuan had never seen Qin Wenzheng before. When he accompanied Lu Wei to school, he only followed the butler to help bring the roe deers to the kitchen and then went out. However, he knew about Qin Wenzheng. When Gu Yundong returned that day, she did not hide the conversation between him and Qin Wenzheng. Gu Yundong introduced, "This is Shao Qingyuan. He's my sugar business partner." Partner? Gu Yundong nodded. That's right. Didn't I tell you? In order to build this house, I spent all my money. Look, I can only find someone to partner with. I'm really poor. Qin Wenzheng, I don't believe you. He stopped dwelling on this matter. After nodding at Shao Qingyuan, he looked at the things in the courtyard. Because it had not been refined in large quantities, there were only 2 sets of tools, and they were a little simple. Qin Wenzheng went forward and touched it. Indeed, he felt a little white sugar and brown sugar. His hand was sticky, but it made him very excited. Quickly refine it for me to see. Qin Wenzheng looked a little impatient. Gu Yundong went to take the apron, but just as she was about to put it on, she was stopped by Shao Qingyuan. He took the apron from Gu Yundong's hands. I'll do it. I'm very familiar with it anyway. Watch from the side and explain it to Master Qin. Gu Yundong thought about it and nodded. All right. Qin Wenzheng raised his eyebrows slightly and did not say anything. Shao Qingyuan quickly took the cane juice that he had squeezed previously and placed it in the vat to boil. When it turned into yellowish black syrup, he poured it into the bucket and condensed it into black sugar. Then, he placed a tile funnel on a vat and plugged the funnel with straw. He poured the black sugar into the funnel and waited for the black sugar to form a block before removing the straw. Then, he poured the black sugar in the funnel with yellow mud water. The black slag flowed from the funnel into the vat below. The black sugar in the funnel turned into white frost. The top layer was about 5 inches and was very white. Qin Wenzheng did not speak from the beginning to the end. He watched everything as Shao Qingyuan refined the white sugar bit by bit, as if she was casting a spell. The originally black and red sugar actually became so fair after this process. His expression became more and more excited. Chapter 180, Yunshu's teacher Shao Qingyuan only stopped after doing all this. Beside him, Qin Wenzheng's breathing could not help but slow down. Good. That's great. He immediately wanted to try it himself. Seeing that it was getting late, Gu Yundong quickly stopped him. Master Qin, have lunch first before you try. Otherwise, everyone will go hungry if you keep working. Qin Wenzheng suddenly came back to his senses and left the backyard reluctantly. Lunch was still at the Zheng family's house. Although the furniture in the new house had been moved in, the house still needed to be exposed to the sun for a few days before it could be lived in. While eating, Qin Wenzheng suddenly remembered that he had to take in a disciple. He took the opportunity to ask Gu Yunshu if he wanted to go to school. Unexpectedly, the little guy shook his head. My family is poor. If you don't charge tuition fees, independent Illinois go. After spending an entire morning with Qin Anning, he finally knew Qin Wenzheng's identity. Qin Wenzheng almost choked on his own saliva. You're quite reluctant. Unexpectedly, Gu Yunke nodded as well. Our family is poor. Too poor. The others present lowered their heads silently. Perhaps everyone had a different understanding of poverty? Qin Anning tilted her head and glanced at the candy in her hand. Could a child from a poor family casually take out such a good-looking orange-flavored candy to her friend? If she didn't have it, wouldn't her family be even poorer? Qin Wenzheng could only look at Gu Yundong. The latter felt that Yunshu still had to respect the teacher. Besides, Qin Wenzheng had helped her a lot. It was not good to disrespect him too much. Otherwise, what if he flew into a rage out of humiliation? Hence, Gu Yundong wiped her mouth and said solemnly, Yunshu, meet your teacher. Gu Yunshu, who had been struggling just now, put down his chopsticks without another word. He walked to Qin Wenzheng and knelt down with a thud. Then, he kowtowed 3 times. Greetings, sir. Qin Wenzheng was speechless. This child's movements were so fast that he did not even have time to react. The others present stopped what they were doing and looked over in a daze. The Zheng family widened their eyes. This was a teacher of the school? The teacher of the school had personally come to the Gu family to take Gu Yunshu in as a student. How smart was he? Zheng Jia and Zheng Yu looked at Gu Yunshu enviously. It was great that Yunshu could go to school. They had actually learned some words from Gu Yunshu over the past few days. They were already very satisfied. Qin Wenzheng laughed and reached out to help Gu Yunshu up. He patted his shoulder. Good, good. You're a smart child. How about this? I still have something to do these few days. You can report to school in 3 days. Yes. Yunshu nodded vigorously and turned to look at her elder sister. His little face was red. Gu Yundong knew that even though he had always said that his family was poor and he did not need to go to school, he still yearned for it. From now on, study well with Master Qin. Master Qin is knowledgeable. You won't lose out if you follow him. Qin Wenzheng glanced at her. Why did these words sound so awkward? Was it because he was knowledgeable that he would not suffer a loss, or was it because he had a strong backing? Gu Yundong pretended not to notice his gaze. She pulled Gu Yunshu back and asked everyone to continue eating. Unexpectedly, as soon as she turned around, she saw Madame Yang's eyes wide open in shock as tears slowly fell. Gu Yundong was shocked and hurried to her side. Mother, what's wrong? Chapter 181, Madame Yang cries for some reason. Madame Yang could not help but cry when she saw Gu Yunshu had a teacher. She looked at Gu Yundong blankly. After thinking for a while, she said, Your father will be happy. Gu Yundong was stunned. She slowly sat down beside Madame Yang and wiped her tears with a handkerchief. She said softly, Yes, if father sees that Yunshu can study and has such a powerful teacher, he will definitely be very happy. Madame Yang nodded heavily. Let's find your father. Okay. Gu Yundong did not forget to look for Gu Dajiang, but she had to have money first. She had to settle down at home so that she could have no worries. In ancient times, where there were no communication tools, it took a lot of manpower and time to find someone. Seeing this, Qin Wenzheng couldn't help but ask, Where did you and your father get separated? If you need help, just tell me. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. Yes, Mr. Qin had a lot of connections. She told him the location of Gu Dajiang's disappearance. Finally, she told him, We agreed with father that if anyone got separated, we would meet in Qingyuan Prefecture. However, when we arrived at Qingyuan Prefecture, the city was in chaos. We had no choice but to come to Xian'er Prefecture. Master Qin, can you help us ask around in Qingyuan Prefecture? Qin Wenzheng thought for a moment before saying, after the chaos in Qingyuan Prefecture, the officials have all changed. The entire prefectural city is undergoing a major renovation. I'm afraid it won't be easy to find your father. However, it'll help. Miss Gu, don't worry. Your father will definitely be safe. Gu Yundong thanked her with a smile. Madame Yang finally calmed down. Then, she ate happily, as if her previous crying did not exist. Gu Yundong shook her head and laughed. After dinner, Wenzheng couldn't wait to try refining the white sugar. It was just a little clumsy. As expected, it was unsuitable for people who studied. His handicraft ability was not good. However, he was very serious and recorded the process one by one. After 2 tries, he finally wiped the sweat off his forehead and brought Madame Gu and Xian'er back to the county. After he left, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan began to discuss mass-producing white sugar. It was impossible to rely on just the 2 of them. They had to hire people and find another venue. Gu Yundong could not bear to use her newly built house as a workshop. She also wanted to buy sugarcane and make a few more sets of tools. Shao Qingyuan was silent for a moment before suddenly saying, "Let's buy some people." Gu Yundong was stunned. Buy someone? Well, you don't have to buy too many. 2 or 3 will do. White sugar is extracted from black sugar. It's not a secret to make black sugar. A lot of people know how to make it. We just have to do the last step. Gu Yundong hesitated for a moment and nodded. All right, then we'll buy some workers. We'll go tomorrow. The next morning, Gu Yundong went to the county city. Shao Qingyuan followed him. Unexpectedly, as soon as the 2 of them arrived at the city gate, they saw Lu Wei's servant. Luan was driving the carriage out of the city. When he saw Shao Qingyuan, he immediately became happy. I was just about to go to Yongfu village to look for you and Miss Gu. Hearing her name, Gu Yundong poked her head out of the carriage. Luan was even happier. So Miss Gu is here too. Great, I don't have to make another trip. Why are you looking for us? Miss Gu, how could you forget? Today is the agreed deadline between our young master and the Tao family's young master. It's in the afternoon. The young master specially asked me to invite the 2 of you to watch the show early in the morning. Chapter 182, Buying Workers. Gu Yundong calculated the time. It was really today. In the afternoon? Where? Luan replied, yes, early in the morning, at Jinshu restaurant in the city. The Lu family was mainly in the business of restaurants. Jinshu restaurant was the largest restaurant in Fengkai County. Of course, the Lu family also had various shops under their name. They sold snacks, pastries, and even groceries. All right, I understand. We still have something to do now. Well, go over at noon. Tell your young master to keep a seat for us. Luan hurriedly asked, Miss Gu, what's the matter? Do you need my help? Gu Yundong thought about it. Luan was more familiar with the county. She could save some effort by asking him. She asked, do you know which broker's shop in the county has a fair price? Is the broker's reputation good? Luan was stunned. Miss, you want to buy servants? That's right. Miss, you've asked the right person. The Lu family has interacted with a few brokers in the city. The most fair one is the official broker Hulu Ali in the city. There's a Granny Chow among them, and the people she trains are not bad. She has a conscience. She tells the identity and background of the servants clearly. She won't hide it from you. As for the price, it's a little more expensive than those private brokers, but it's worth it. Gu Yundong knew what to do. All right, thank you. I'll go to the brokerage first and come to the restaurant later. Then I'll go and reply to young master. Miss, take your time. If you need anything, feel free to come to the restaurant and look for my young master. Luan drove the carriage away. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan discussed for a while and went straight to Hulu Alley. If there were no suitable ones over there, it would not be too late to take a look at the others. Hulu Alley was very lively. Although it was called an alley, the road was very wide. Their carriage could directly rush to the entrance of the brokerage. When Gu Yundong came down, she immediately said that she was looking for Granny Chow. The people inside knew that this was most likely introduced by an acquaintance and they immediately went to look for her. Granny Chow was in her 40s. When she came out, she did not waste any time. She brought Gu Yundong to the backyard. Then, she called everyone out and let Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan take a look first. Gu Yundong's main purpose in buying people was to help refine the white sugar. Furthermore, she would sign a death contract. After looking around, her gaze finally landed on a family with the surname Tong. According to Granny Chow, this family of 6 used to be servants of a large family in the county city. That family had moved away some time ago and could not bring many servants with them, so they sold a portion of them. The Tong family was among them. It was said that in the previous master's house, the Tong family was also diligent in their work. However, they did not know how to suck up to their master and could not get close to the master's house, so in the end, they were not taken away. The Tong family had an old man and a mother. They were both 46 years old this year. The couple had 2 sons. The eldest son was 30 years old and had married a woman. He had a 14-year-old daughter. What surprised Gu Yundong was that this daughter was very strong, even though she ate a lot. The younger son was 25 years old. It was said that he had a wife before, but that wife found him boring. In the end, she climbed into the bed of the young master of the family and became his concubine. Upon hearing this, Gu Yundong roughly knew why this family had been sold by the previous owner. This concubine must have put in a lot of effort. Gu Yundong asked them a few questions. For the time being, she did not feel that there was anything bad about them, so she bought them. Because they were all strong laborers and were healthy, the 6 of them had cost 70 taels of silver on Gu Yundong, and that was because Granny Chow had given a discount. Chapter 183, Young Master Lu, Don't Give Up. Gu Yundong paid the money and instantly felt that she was poor again. She really could not afford to spend this money. She had to earn more quickly. Shao Qingyuan saw that she was frowning as soon as she left the brokerage shop. He thought for a moment and asked, "Is there no more silver? I'll go up the mountain tomorrow to see if there are any tigers." There was also the roe deer. Last time, she said that she had never eaten a roe deer. It was just that he had been busy recently and could not find the time to go up the mountain. Gu Yundong immediately shook her head. "You have to go deep into the mountains to fight the tigers. It's so cold now. You'll freeze if you stay in the mountains for 2 days. Besides, it's not that easy to fight the tigers. Do you think you can encounter them so easily? It's better not to go. It's too dangerous." Shao Qingyuan smiled. "Okay, I won't go." The 2 of them got into the carriage. The Tong family was still at the brokerage shop. Gu Yundong asked them to pack their things first. She would pick them up in the afternoon when they returned from Jinshu restaurant. Jinshu restaurant was still some distance away. When Gu Yundong and the others arrived, the entire restaurant was surrounded with carriages. According to the waiter, the stable in the restaurant could not accommodate all the horses at all. They could only block the road. There were too many people. Previously, Gu Yundong had only heard that this bet had blown up quite a bit. Now, it seemed that it had blown up too much. How much did Lu Wei hate Tao Xing that he wanted the entire county to see him being humiliated? No wonder even Qin Wenzheng had made a move to persuade her to stop this bet. The waiter had received Lu Wei's instructions and brought Gu Yundong and the rest to the best private room on the 2nd floor. After knocking on the door, a weak voice came from inside. "Come in." Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other. What was going on? The 2 of them pushed open the door and entered. Unexpectedly, as soon as she entered, she saw Lu Wei hanging his head low and looking dejected. Even his hair was messy, and his clothes were messy too. He looked like he was in pain. "What happened to you?" Gu Yundong asked softly. Did something happen to the bet? Should she comfort him? When Lu Wei heard her voice, he suddenly raised his head. His movements were so fierce that he almost twisted his neck. In the next moment, the dejected look on his face disappeared and he exhaled. So it's you guys. He wiped his hair and crossed his legs. He looked like an arrogant profligate's son, completely different from his previous image. Who did you think we were, then? I thought that Tao Xing and the others were here to laugh at me in advance, so I deliberately pretended to be defeated and had nothing to live for to make them happy. That way, the happier they are now, the worse they will fall later. Ha 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 ha. This person's bad taste was quite strong. Gu Yundong sat at the table and poured himself and Shao Qingyuan a cup of tea. She reached out to open the window. Lu Wei immediately stopped her. No, no, no. There are so many people downstairs. If everyone sees how confident I am later, it will be boring. Gu Yundong could only retract her hand and ask him, is there anything delicious in your restaurant? I'm hungry. Let's eat first. There are still more than 2 hours left. Yes, I'll get someone to serve the dishes immediately. As he spoke, he opened the door of the private room with messy hair and shouted to the waiter outside, serve me the signature dishes of the restaurant. Hurry up. 2 young masters happened to pass by outside the door. When they heard this, they immediately smiled. Young Master Lu, you clearly know that you're going to lose, so you're starting to give up on yourself? There's no need to waste the food, right? Chapter 184, Old Master Lu is here. Another person also smiled and said, that's right. You don't care about your image at all. After all, you're a handsome man in Fengkai County. How can you go crazy just because of 5 shops? The only response they got was the sound of Lu Wei slamming the door. The 2 young masters looked at each other and sneered. He's angry from embarrassment. How pitiful. After this, Lu Wei will probably be completely abandoned by the Lu family. Won't there be one less person at our gathering in the future? Ha ha ha, isn't there still Tao Xing? He won a few shops this time. Wouldn't he be more generous and invite everyone out to celebrate? The 2 of them were getting further and further away. Lu Wei leaned behind the door and listened for a long time with his butt raised. In the end, he snorted and said proudly, they'll see how your eyeballs pop out later. You only know how to make sarcastic remarks. When I win, I won't treat you. Just feel sorry for yourselves. Gu Yundong was speechless. Shao Qingyuan, have some tea. Lu Wei happily returned to his seat and drank the white sugar water. The taste was extremely beautiful. Gu Yundong felt that his appearance was too eye-piercing. She did not know if she could eat later. She regretted not eating outside in advance. The waiters quickly served the food and reported the situation outside. There were more and more people now, and Tao Xing had arrived early. He was in another private room. Those young masters had already occupied the private rooms. The hall downstairs was also filled with people. Even outside the door, there were many commoners watching the commotion. This matter had blown up too much. Previously, it was just circulating among young masters like the Tao family and the Lu family. Later, after the stake was increased, even the commoners knew. Gu Yundong really admired these 2 people. They could cause such a ruckus in a bet. They were really capable. As they were eating, Luan suddenly rushed in. Young master, old master is here. Lu Wei was stunned and stood up abruptly. My father is here? It's over, it's over, it's over. Gu Yundong swallowed the chicken in her mouth and looked up. She asked curiously, you haven't told your father? She had said not to tell anyone for the time being, but it was already the agreed date. He still hadn't told his father? Lu Wei's body stiffened. He laughed dryly and stammered, you can't blame me. I was too excited and forgot. Of course, I wanted to tell my father this morning, but he went out early in the morning. I didn't see him. Gu Yundong was speechless. At this moment, the door of the private room was opened. Old Master Lu walked in angrily. Lu Wei suddenly jumped up and instantly retreated behind Shao Qingyuan. Gu Yindong put down her chopsticks and wiped her mouth. She greeted, "Old Master Lu." Old Master Lu glared fiercely at Lu Wei before looking at Gu Yindong and Shao Qingyuan. A moment later, his expression changed and he smiled. "You're Miss Gu, right?" Gu Yindong blinked. Old Master Lu looked quite happy. She thought that he would be angry that she had harmed his son. She did not expect him to smile. She nodded. Old Master Lu walked over and sighed. "Miss Gu is so capable at such a young age. You're not inferior to men." Gu Yindong was stunned again. "Does Old Master Lu know?" "Yes, I just came from Master Qin's place." Lu Wei immediately exploded when he heard that. "Father, since you know, why did you look like you wanted to kill me just now? If I don't put on an act, will the people outside believe that you're going to destroy my family assets?" Chapter 185. The older the wiser. The three juniors in the private room instantly felt deep veneration. Indeed, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Gu Yindong finally knew who Lu Wei had inherited his personality from. It seemed that Lu Yi would have a hard time in the future. Not only did he have to take care of his elder brother, but he also had to take care of his father. Old Master Lu snorted proudly and walked to Lu Wei's original seat. He sat down and said to him, "Where's the white sugar? I haven't seen it before. Show it to me." Lu Wei eagerly took the white sugar out of the cloth bag in the round vat in a large wooden basket in the corner. The corners of Gu Yindong's mouth twitched. "You hid it too well." Lu Wei scooped a little with a small bowl and placed it in front of Old Master Lu. Old Master Lu immediately beamed with joy when he saw this. He twisted a little and put it in his mouth before nodding repeatedly. "Sweet, sweet, good, good." He turned to look at Gu Yindong with a smile, but quickly shook his head regretfully. "Actually, it's not a bad idea to cooperate with the Lu family. You're Wire's friend, so Uncle Lu won't take advantage of you." As he spoke, he glared at his son resentfully. How useless. They were clearly friends, and he knew her ability immediately. He did not know how to win over such a talent. What was the use of giving birth to such a son? Gu Yindong could only say, "Of course I trust you, Uncle Lu. It's just that white sugar has just been invented. It might not be a good thing no matter who takes it. But don't worry, Uncle Lu. In the future, I'll give you the cheapest price for the white sugar that the Lu family's restaurants need." "Ha, that's a deal." Old Master Lu nodded. He also understood that this formula was indeed the most suitable to be offered to the imperial court. As they were talking, a commotion suddenly came from downstairs. Faintly, someone called out to Lu Wei, "Young Master Lu, how long are you going to hide in the private room? Come out, everyone is here." "That's right. As a man, you can't go back on your words. It's just 5 shops, right? If you lose, so be it. What's so horrible about it? Young Master Lu, don't tell me you were beaten up by your father and don't dare to come out." "Old Master Lu, you can't stop young Master Lu." Lu Wei snorted. "These bastards." As he spoke, he was about to open the window of the private room. Unexpectedly, the window of the other private room opposite opened first. A young man's voice quickly sounded. "What's with the noise? It's not time yet. You're disturbing my mood for food. Why are you in a hurry to watch the show?" Lu Wei's hand that was opening the window paused, and a smile hung on his face. Gu Yindong asked curiously, "Who is it?" Duan Qingyuan, the young master of the county magistrate of Fengkai County. Gu Yindong remembered that when they first met, Lu Wei had told him that he knew the county magistrate's son. "He seems pretty protective of you." Lu Wei was a little proud. As expected of the county magistrate's son, Duan Qingyuan's words carried weight. The arrogant shouts downstairs immediately weakened. Although there were still whispers, no one dared to openly provoke him. However, not long after, the agreed time arrived, and the commotion downstairs could not be suppressed. The moment Tao Xing stepped out of the room on the second floor and walked down the stairs, the commotion reached the peak. Someone told Lu Wei to hurry downstairs and stop hiding away. Gu Yundong even heard a familiar voice from these shouts. Chapter 186, Girl, come down together. Lu Wei, hurry up. If you don't come down, well, go up and carry you down. This voice was cheap and loud, instantly drowning out the laughter of the others. Gu Yundong was still wondering where she had heard this voice when Shao Qingyuan reminded him in a low voice, "It's Peng Zhongfei." Huh. It was him. Gu Yundong could not help but look at Lu Wei. Aren't you friends with Peng Zhongfei? He's just a bad friend. He and Tao Xing are also friends. They drink together and go to brothels together. At the critical moment, they would watch from the side. How could they really support each other? Old Master Lu coughed lightly. Lu Wei was stunned for a moment and immediately reacted. Don't misunderstand. I went to the brothel to recite poems, play the zither, and recite music to relieve the bitterness in my heart. Oh, Gu Yundong looked like she understood. She finally understood what the place that Lu Yi had said she should not visit was. Lu Wei was speechless. He felt that she didn't believe his words at all, but as heaven and earth could see, he really didn't do anything he shouldn't have. Just as he was feeling depressed, another cry sounded from downstairs. Lu Wei was annoyed. He suddenly pushed open the window and shouted below, all right, all right. What are you shouting for? Are you in a hurry to die? I'll come down now. As soon as he opened the window, the people downstairs not only saw him, but also Gu Yundong, who was standing by the window. Tao Xing thought of what his shopkeeper had said before. He narrowed his eyes slightly and said, Lu Wei, you'd better come down quickly. Don't make everyone wait. By the way, the person beside you is the girl who can make white sugar, right? Invite her down together. How about letting her repeat what she said in my grocery store? Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. No, you won't be able to be smug in a while. She really just wanted to watch the show. After all, Tao Xing's goal was only Lu Wei. She didn't expect him to mention her. Lu Wei snorted coldly. If you want me to go down, go down. He closed the window and said to Luan, carry the basket down. Let's teach them a lesson. Luan was also very excited. During this period of time, Tao Xing's servants would laugh at him every time they saw him. They would say that he had a brainless master and that he had become stupid. He had restrained himself from retorting on the spot. This time, he could finally hold his head high. After waiting for so long, today finally came. Luan took out the cloth bag from the vat and placed it on the basket. Then, he carried the basket on his back in high spirits and followed Lu Wei downstairs. Old Master Lu was still up there. After all, the people below were all juniors. If he went down, he would be giving them too much face. He comfortably made himself a cup of sugar water and sat on the chair, enjoying it with his eyes slightly narrowed. However, when the people downstairs saw that he was not coming down, they felt that he was too ashamed. But it didn't matter. He could still feel it upstairs. Lu Wei went downstairs. Along the way, people on the stairs, along the aisle, and in the lobby downstairs all moved aside to make way for them. Tao Xing sat in the middle of the hall with a smile. There was a table in front of him with a few pieces of paper on it. They were the bet agreement between him and Lu Wei, as well as the contracts for the 5 shops. He glanced at Lu Wei, then at Gu Yundong. She was quite good-looking, but she didn't have any brains. She was also dressed in old-fashioned clothes. It was said that she came from the countryside and didn't know much. She dared to say anything. Lu Wei was actually charmed by such a person. This generation of the Lu family was probably finished. Peng Zhongfei, who was sitting beside him, also saw Gu Yundong and immediately stood up. Chapter 187, Broadening Their Horizons. Previously, Peng Zhongfei did not see clearly who the woman in the private room on the second floor was. Now, he knew that it was Gu Yundong. For some reason, he felt a little flustered. Perhaps because he had made too much noise, Tao Xing turned his head and looked at him. What's wrong? No, nothing. Peng Zhongfei sat back down silently. Just now, he was the one who caused the most trouble. Now, he was as quiet as a chicken and did not say anything. However, Peng Zhongfei was still puzzled. When did Gu Yundong and Lu Wei become so close? Tao Xing glanced at him strangely and ignored him. He reached out and knocked on the table. Put up the contracts for the 5 shops. Lu Wei's hair was still a little messy. He sat on the chair brought over by the waiter angrily. He first flipped through the contract on Tao Xing's desk. Seeing that the addresses were indeed the ones they had agreed on previously, he was satisfied and took out his copy. Tao Xing also took a look and immediately smiled. They had been coveting the Lu family's shops for a long time. Now, they finally took this opportunity to set a trap for Lu Wei and make him willingly lose. Both sides placed their bets on the table and invited the 2 middlemen who had witnessed their bet. It was actually useless to say that they were middlemen. Now that everyone in the county knew, most of them had gone to the restaurant to witness it with their own eyes. If anyone dared to break the contract in front of everyone, not only would they lose all their face, but their family's reputation would also be affected, which would be bad for their business. Alright, young Master Lu, let's not waste our breath. Back then, our Tao family's shopkeeper heard with his own ears that this girl said that she could make white sugar that was as white as clouds, right? As Tao Xing spoke, he looked at Gu Yundong. The latter nodded. It's indeed what I said. Moreover, your shopkeeper said at that time that if I made it, your family would buy it at 10 times the price. Tao Xing nodded, indicating that he did not deny it. Now that so many days have passed, we've given you enough time. So, where's the sugar? That's right. Where's the sugar? The person beside him asked with a smile. I've never seen sugar as white as clouds. Haha, you really dare to say that. Why don't you just admit defeat? It's not a big deal. If you're willing to bet and admit defeat, you can still be a man. However, young Master Lu, you should open your eyes wide in the future. Don't be friends with everyone in the corner and harm others and yourself. Gu Yundong was speechless. She smiled. In a while, she would be able to hear the beautiful slaps on their faces. Lu Wei glanced at them from the corner of his eyes. If you've never seen it before, it means that you're ignorant. You really think too highly of yourselves. As he spoke, he waved his hand and flipped his hair. Luan, broaden their horizons. Yes, young master, Luan replied excitedly. He bent down and took out the cloth bag from the basket with great effort. Everyone was confused. Could it be that there really was something? Tao Xing also frowned slightly and straightened his body. Ever since Peng Zhongfei heard that Gu Yundong might have made the sugar, he felt that Lu Wei was going to win. This person had the protection of that mysterious old man. What could she not do? As soon as the cloth bag was pulled open, the people around the table craned their necks to look inside. Then, their pupils dilated slightly. This is, Lu Wei waved his hand. Go away. He took a bowl, scooped out a bowl, and placed it on the table with a bang. Come, try it. I'll show you what white sugar is. Chapter 188, These animals. Everyone stared at the white particles in front of them and could not help but swallow their saliva. However, after watching for a long time, no one made a move. They only raised their heads and looked at each other. Lu Wei was getting impatient. Do you want to eat it or not? Hurry up. Don't make it look like I'm going to poison you to death. Qingyuan was the first to go forward. He pinched it with his hand and put it into his mouth. Then, his eyes suddenly lit up. It's sweet. It's really sugar. Of course, Lu Wei said proudly. In the next moment, the onlookers at the table rushed forward and pushed Lu Wei away. They didn't even care about their basic manners and reached into their bowls with one hand each. Fortunately, Gu Yundong was quick. Shao Qingyuan pulled him to the side and avoided the noisy crowd. Soon, exclamations sounded in the hall one after another. "Oh my God, it's really sugar. It's refreshing." Just like clouds, young Master Lu was not bragging. "Ha ha ha, this is good. This is good. I like it. Delicious." The chatter made the people watching from the outside itch. They wanted to squeeze in and take a look with their own eyes, but there were too many people. They could not even see them, let alone squeeze in. When Lu Wei was pulled out by Luan, his hair was even messier, and his clothes were torn into a mess as if someone had molested him. At this moment, he still remembered to take out the bag of white sugar tightly in his arms, afraid that it would be swallowed by these wolves and tigers. When he was outside the crowd, he heaved a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat off his forehead. These animals look like they haven't seen candy in 8 lifetimes. He looked up and saw Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan standing far away. Not even a strand of hair was messy. He was so angry that his hands trembled. "You're too much. Why didn't you help me when you came out? We're doing this for your own good. If we hadn't come out early, your 5 shops might have flown away," Gu Yundong said and pointed at the other end of the crowd. On the other side, Tao Xing was being escorted out by his servant. Lu Wei glared at him and shouted, "Tao Xing, are you trying to go back on your word?" Perhaps because his voice was too sharp, it drowned out the noisy crowd. The people around the table instantly quietened down and looked in Tao Xing's direction. Tao Xing cursed in his heart and slowly straightened up. He tidied up his clothes that were also messed up and turned to look at Lu Wei. "What nonsense are you talking about? Going back on my word? I just saw too many people being squeezed out. Didn't you come out too?" It would be strange if Lu Wei believed him. He trembled and went forward. "All right, since you're not going to go back on your word, we can fulfill the bet now. You have eaten the white sugar too. How is it? It's the same as the white clouds, right?" He saw 2 grains of white sugar stuck to the corner of Tao Xing's mouth. Tao Xing's face darkened. Lu Wei had already spread out his hands. "Give me the contracts." Tao Xing was indignant and clenched his fists. He wanted to go back on his word. Those were 5 shops, and they were considered good 5 shops in the Tao family. At that time, he had promised in front of his father that he would not lose, so his father had given him the deeds. In the end, not only did he not win back the Lu family's shops, but he also suffered heavy losses. Wouldn't he be beaten to death by his father when he returned home? Most importantly, his eldest brother would definitely take this opportunity to suppress him. Tao Xing pursed his lips. When he looked up, he suddenly saw Gu Yundong standing at the side. Chapter 189, Peng Zhongfei, the fence-sitters. When Lu Wei saw his eyes rolling around, he knew that this guy was definitely up to no good. Sure enough, in the next moment, he heard Tao Xing point at Gu Yundong and say, "I admit that this white sugar is real. But our bet was that you could make such snow-white sugar. Can you guarantee that you really made this white sugar and you didn't find it from somewhere?" Gu Yundong did not expect the fire to burn her. She glanced at Lu Wei and nodded. "I made it. Do you want me to swear?" "What's the use of swearing?" Tao Xing snorted. "Why don't you do it again in front of all of us? That way, we will believe that you created this thing." Gu Yundong was so angry that she almost laughed. In front of everyone? How could he say that? However, the surrounding people did not mind the commotion and started to jeer. That's right, that's right. Make it again in front of everyone so that we can see how this white sugar came about." Tao Xing proudly looked at Lu Wei provocatively. Unexpectedly, he had only been smug for 2 seconds when he heard an unexpected voice. "Then why don't you tell everyone the secret recipe of your Tao family's wine in front of everyone once? Let everyone see if your family brewed it. Otherwise, How would we know where your family bought it from? The Tao family mainly operated a winery that had been around for many years. It had been passed down from their ancestors for more than 100 years. Tao Xing frowned and turned around. He saw Peng Zhongfei standing up and tidying his clothes. Peng was indeed unreliable. Wherever there was benefit, he would change sides. In fact, Peng Zhongfei was not the only one. Many people present saw the benefits brought by the white sugar. At this moment, they felt that there was no need to become enemies with the Lu family and this girl. Hence, they nodded one after another. That makes sense. The formula of the white sugar must be a complicated secret. I don't know how much effort it took to create it. How can it be publicized in front of everyone? Duan Qingyuan also smiled and said, "Young Master Tao has admitted to this white sugar. And you didn't say that they have to publicize the secret recipe in front of everyone when you made the bet back then. Now, you're finding all kinds of excuses to make things difficult for others. Are you trying to go back on your word? That won't do. Everyone is watching. Is the Tao family so untrustworthy?" Lu Wei laughed out loud. He deliberately made it sound more serious. He didn't believe that if the matter had already escalated to the Tao family, he would still dare to make excuses. As expected, Tao Xing's face darkened. He immediately laughed dryly. Of course, the Tao family won't go back on their word. I didn't consider everything just now and said something I shouldn't have said. I, Tao Xing, will keep my word and fulfill the bet. Lu Wei flipped up his right hand. The contracts. Tao Xing gritted his teeth and lowered his head slightly. His eyes became gloomy. He asked the servant behind him to bring the contracts over and personally handed them to Lu Wei. Lu Wei flipped through them in front of everyone. After reading them again and again, he was finally satisfied. Don't forget to visit the government later. With that, he turned around and left. However, just as he took a step forward, he suddenly stopped as if he had thought of something. Then, he took out the white sugar in his hand. I almost forgot. Back then, your shopkeeper said that he would buy this white sugar back at 10 times the price. It's just right. 20 caddies for 80 taels of silver. Tao Xing was stunned. This white sugar was a rare thing. It was not a bad idea to buy it back. However, 80 taels was too expensive. Just as he was about to say that Lu Wei had scooped out a bowlful previously and wanted to lower the price, a voice suddenly sounded in his ear. I'll pay 100 taels. Give me these 20 caddies of white sugar. Chapter 190, Almost corrupted by money, I offer 110 taels. 120 taels. 150 taels. One after another, voices sounded in the hall. These young masters were not short of money, especially those from families who did business. How could this 180 taels compare to such rare white sugar? Lu Wei's eyes lit up. He didn't expect this bag of white sugar to be auctioned. But this sugar belonged to Gu Yundong. He turned to ask for her opinion. Gu Yundong's eyes were also sparkling. Let the prodigal sons come more fiercely. She was very short of money now. However, reality was cruel. Soon, a steward who had been following Old Master Lu came down and walked to their side. He said softly, Old Master said that it's not wrong for Miss Gu to want to take the opportunity to earn more money, but it's not good to go too far. After all, Miss Gu is about to start a white sugar business. This will be no longer unique. The young master who bought the white sugar later will feel that the price was too high and you might make enemies. The impression of Miss Gu on the people present will also worsen. In the future, the business will be affected. Peace is still the most important thing in doing business. When Shao Qingyuan heard this, he nodded slightly. Old Master Lu is right. Moreover, it's best to sell the candy to the Tao family. Gu Yundong knew that Old Master Lu was teaching him. He was afraid that she would not be able to withstand the temptation at such a young age. She was someone who could listen to opinions. Her eyes quickly calmed down from its all money. She took a deep breath and said to the manager, "Thank you, Uncle Lu. Yundong understands." The steward went up with relief. Gu Yundong saw that the bids were getting more and more ridiculous. Some people even raised the price to 400 taels for the sake of personal feelings. Moreover, it seemed that the others had no intention of stopping. She secretly wiped her sweat. She had almost been corrupted by money. "Everyone, be quiet." Gu Yundong suddenly spoke. The group of people who were arguing until their faces were red immediately stopped. They heard her say, "I'm really sorry, everyone. I still have to give this sugar to the Tao family. After all, we agreed back then." Tao Xing was angry at first, but when he heard this, he was instantly happy. Unexpectedly, Gu Yundong continued, "It's just that young Master Lu was wrong about one thing. Back then, the shopkeeper said that he would buy it back at 10 times the price, so it was 10 times the price of this white sugar. And this white sugar will be released soon. At that time, the price will be 100 copper coins per tael. Here, 20 caddies is 32 taels, so 10 times the price is 320 taels. So young Master Tao, for 320 taels, this sugar is yours." This was not wrong. If Wenzheng brought it back, the imperial court would set the price at 100 copper coins per tael of white sugar. Gu Yundong felt that the price was actually not bad. Many people could afford it. She remembered that white sugar used to be a luxury item that only the royal family could afford in England. When the people present heard this price, they felt that it was very acceptable. The bid just now had soared to 600 taels. Tao Xing almost vomited blood. Previously, he found 80 taels too expensive, but now it was 320 taels. He wouldn't pay. Whoever wanted it could have it. But before he could say anything, he heard a dignified voice behind him. "Tao Xing, give it to her. The Tao family won't go back on their word and bully a girl." Tao Xing suddenly turned around and saw his father, who was originally in the private room upstairs, standing behind him with a very ugly expression. Chapter 191, Silver again. However, it was not only Master Tao who was standing there, but also Tao Xing's brother, Ao Feng, whom he hated very much. Tao Feng had a smile on his face, and his expression was filled with gloating. Old Master Tao had already walked forward and said to Lu Wei and Gu Yundong, "The Tao family admits defeat. Young Master Lu is so capable. The friends you know are not ordinary people." Lu Wei secretly cursed the old fox in his heart, but he said with a smile, "Thank you for your praise." Under Master Tao's sharp gaze, Tao Xing finally took out 320 taels of silver and handed it to Lu Wei. Lu Wei retracted his hand and called Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan upstairs. He didn't want to talk to Master Tao. Anyway, he had already gotten what he wanted. Gu Yundong was also satisfied. She was no longer short of money. With this money, she could buy land, build a factory, and collect sugar cane. Life was getting better bit by bit. Thinking back to those days in the apocalypse, it really felt like heaven now. Gu Yundong's footsteps were light. She had only taken 2 steps when she suddenly realized that Shao Qingyuan was not following her. She was stunned for a moment. She turned her head and saw that he was looking at a certain point with a dark gaze. Following his gaze, Gu Yundong could not help but feel strange. Shao Qingyuan. Why was he looking at Master Tao? Why? Do you know Master Tao? Shao Qingyuan came back to his senses and shook his head slowly. He smiled at her and said, "I don't know him. Let's go up." Although Gu Yundong was curious, he did not seem to be willing to say more, so she did not ask further. They followed Lu Wei back to the Lu family's private room. At this moment, the people in the lobby downstairs suddenly reacted and rushed upstairs in unison. "Miss, is what you said true? We'll be able to buy this white sugar soon." "That's right. Where can we buy it? Which shop? Does it really only cost 100 copper coins per tael?" "Miss, please wait. I'm the second young master of the Gao family. You can cooperate with our Gao family to sell white sugar. Our Gao family, get lost. I'm from the Fu family. All of you, stop dreaming. Can't you see that there's a Lu family over there? That girl must have cooperated with the Lu family. As soon as he said this, the others stopped. That's right. The Lu family was richer than them. It was not their turn. However, they did not give up. Many people still went upstairs to talk to Gu Yundong. Fortunately, Lu Wei brought them away quickly. After entering the private room, Old Master Lu immediately asked his steward to go out and deal with them. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief. In contrast, the Tao family of 3 did not come up. Master Tao did not even want to stay in this restaurant for long. He turned around and left with his 2 sons. As Tao Xing walked, his eyes darted around. After getting into the carriage, he immediately went to Master Tao's side and said, "Father, are you willing to let us lose these 5 shops? That Lu family did it on purpose. That sugar was prepared long ago and they even pretended to be about to lose. They're sinister and despicable." Old Master Tao was angry and disappointed in his son. "That's because you're stupid. You fell into the trap so easily." After saying that, he closed her eyes and ignored him. Tao Xing gritted his teeth. "Father, I didn't think this through. I accept the punishment, but it's not like we can't get it back." "Oh, how do you want to get it back?" Tao Feng asked, but he looked at Tao Xing with disdain. Tao Xing didn't even look at him and continued to say to Master Tao, "Father, that Gu girl is just a country girl. We can totally force her to hand over the formula." Chapter 192, Beaten, Pa. As soon as Tao Xing finished speaking, he was slapped hard on the face. He covered his face in disbelief and glared at his father. "Dad, you hit me? Stop it. If you dare to go out and cause trouble again, I'll break your legs." Old Master Tao had been suppressing his anger. Wouldn't he be angry after losing 5 shops? Wouldn't he be angry after being laughed at by so many people? His family was arrogant and proud before, but today, they were as sarcastic and embarrassed. He had lost all his face, but he still had to personally go downstairs to clean up the aftermath for his son and protect the last bit of dignity of the Tao family. It was fine if Tao Xing did not regret it at all, but he actually came up with a bad idea. Old Master Tao wanted to endure it until he reached home before teaching him a lesson, but his thoughts flew away. He wished he could kick him out of the carriage. However, Tao Xing had always been pampered at home. His father had never hit him. Now, in front of his elder brother, "Father, why?" Master Tao took a deep breath and said to Tao Feng, "Tell him." "Second brother, why can't you understand?" Tao Feng shook his head and said with a disappointed expression, "That girl is indeed just a country girl, but the Lu family is not. Old Master Lu has been in the business world for so many years. How can he not know how much trouble this white sugar will cause once it appears? How can he not know how many people are secretly eyeing it? Since he dares to take it out, it means that he has already considered all aspects. Aren't you afraid that someone will have ill intentions?" Tao Feng sighed. "The truth is that not only can we not have any crooked thoughts, but even the Lu family can't get involved in the sugar business." Tao Feng was originally not at Jinshu restaurant. He had specially rushed over to tell Master Tao after receiving the news so that the Tao family would not suffer. Tao Xing looked unconvinced. Even the Lu family didn't cooperate with her? Who are you kidding? How can a country girl make such a deal? She doesn't work with the Lu family, but she, Tao Feng pointed at the sky. You dare to touch her? Tao Xing swallowed his saliva and did not dare to say a word. Old Master Tao sneered. After you go back, stay in your courtyard and study obediently. You're not allowed to go out in a month. Leave the rest to your brother, do you hear me? Tao Xing's eyes widened. But, Tao Feng nodded with a serious expression. Father, don't worry. I'll do my best. Although we can't interfere with the white sugar matter, we can still make a deal. I'll go back to the restaurant now and talk to Miss Gu. Yeah. After Tao Feng got out of the carriage, Master Tao brought Tao Xing home. However, Tao Feng was destined to return empty-handed. While the Lu family steward was dealing with the people downstairs, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were taken away by Lu Wei from the back door of the restaurant. Only when the three of them got into the carriage did they slowly heave a sigh of relief. Lu Wei said, "Gu girl, don't worry. My father can handle things here. You don't have to worry that those people will find your Yongfu village. Brother Qin will block them." Phew, I didn't expect these people to be so crazy. Lu Wei chuckled and suddenly moved closer to her. If Shao Qingyuan had not reached out to block him, he would have knocked Gu Yundong's head. "Gu girl, you've helped me so much today. Tell me what you want. As long as I can do it, I'll definitely do it for you." What? Gu Yundong touched her chin. Of course, what she wanted the most was money. Wasn't the Lu family rich? But now... Chapter 193, Got a shop. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. I want a shop. Lu Wei was stunned for a moment before he suddenly reacted. Yes. If you want to do business, you must have shops. Coincidentally, I won 5 shops from Tao Xing today. Let me tell you, these shops are not bad. I'll give you 2. So generous? Gu Yundong knew very well that although Lu Wei had won the bet by himself, Tao Xing had placed such a huge bet because they wanted to trick the Lu family. The Lu family also needed to take out the same stake before this bet could be established. She was not greedy. She only wanted a shop. Lu Wei smiled smugly. I've always been generous. Besides, it's all thanks to you this time. Come, let me introduce you to these 5 shops. You can choose first. If possible, it was actually better to bring her to see the shops. However, the shops were not empty yet, so it was inconvenient. Gu Yundong pondered as she listened, occasionally asking for Shao Qingyuan's opinion. When Lu Wei was done explaining the pros and cons, Gu Yundong knew what to do. I want the shop in the east of the city with a backyard. That shop was in a good location and was not far from Wenzheng school. It also had a rather large backyard that could accommodate people. In the future, if Yunshu's school was inconvenient for him to go home, he could have a place to stay. There was also a well in the backyard, and there were 3 to 4 rooms. The surroundings of the shop were also lively. Many wealthy families in Fengkai County lived in that area, and the scenery was not bad. Gu Yundong only wanted this shop. Firstly, this shop was the largest and best among them. Although the others were not bad, they did not make her particularly tempted. Secondly, she had just received more than 300 taels of silver from Tao Xing. It would be too greedy to ask for another shop. Although Lu Wei didn't mind, she didn't know what the other members of the Lu family were thinking. Gu Yundong knew when to stop. Besides, she would soon have a source of income. If she wanted a shop in the future, she would buy it herself. Lu Wei tried to persuade her a few times but to no avail. He could only give up and go straight to the government office to give her the shop. As they chatted, they arrived at the brokerage in Hulu Alley. The 6 members of the Tong family were already waiting for her, but Gu Yundong only had 1 carriage. If there were too many people, it would seem too crowded. The Tong family expressed that they could walk on their own, but Gu Yundong did not agree. Anyway, Lu Wei was here, so it was the same to borrow his carriage. It was getting late. The group got into the carriage and went straight to the city gate. However, not long after the carriage left, Gu Yundong suddenly stopped it. She was sitting in Lu Wei's carriage, and the driver was Shao Qingyuan. Shao Qingyuan stopped the carriage and saw Gu Yundong jump down and enter a shop in front of him. He looked up and realized that it was a clothing shop. It seemed to be the Peng family's shop. Gu Yundong came out after a while. He carried a bag and got into the carriage. Let's go. Qingyuan took a few more glances curiously, but he didn't ask. The carriage quickly left the city gate and headed straight for Yongfu village. The two carriages entered the village one after another and went straight to the foot of the mountain. The villagers were already used to it. On the other hand, apart from Boss Tong, who was driving the carriage, the rest of the Tong family stayed in the carriage obediently. They did not even lift the curtain. However, they were still a little nervous. When the master girl bought them, she did not say much. Now, they knew that they had entered the village. Chapter 194. Gu Yunshu's worry. The carriage stopped in front of the Zheng family's house. The 6 members of the Tong family alighted one by one. They looked up and saw the dilapidated mud brick house in front of them. Even though they were mentally prepared, they still found it unbelievable. Especially after Gu Yundong brought them into the courtyard and they saw the narrow road with the low courtyard walls, they looked at each other. The master's house was actually like this? The Tong family really could not understand. The master had spent so much money on them. Why did she not use it to repair the house? Until Gu Yundong said to them, "Our house has just been built. We can only move in the day after tomorrow. Well, make do here for the next 2 days. The men will squeeze in the Shao family next door first, and the women will stay here. This is Auntie Dong. This is her home. Auntie Dong has already helped pack your room. Go take a look and put down your luggage." Dong Shilan knew that she had gone out early in the morning to buy people, so she quickly tidied up the unoccupied room in her house. The Shao family could also vacate a room, so they could arrange it. The Tong family hurriedly nodded. After Gu Yundong introduced the others, the women followed Dong Shilan into the house, and the man followed Shao Qingyuan to the next room. When they went out, they happened to see the Gu family's green brick-tiled house. All of them were a little surprised. They did not expect such a house to exist in the countryside. They wondered who lived inside. The Tong family were all people with work to do in their eyes. Especially when they were in an unfamiliar place, they were more or less trembling in fear. Therefore, as soon as they put down their things, they immediately came out to help chop firewood, fetch water, and cook dinner. Dinner was quite sumptuous. After all, there were more people in the house and they had earned more money. It was something to celebrate. During dinner, Gu Yundong mentioned that there was an additional shop in the house. The Zheng family was very surprised. "You have a shop. Where is it? How big is it? Are you planning to sell white sugar?" Gu Yundong nodded. "It's used to sell white sugar. It's in the east of the city. However, the shop hasn't been vacated yet. It can only be used in a few days. When the time comes, you'll have to ask Uncle Feng to help change the layout inside. When it opens, everyone will join in the fun." Madame Dong was very happy. "All right, I'll definitely go." Gu Yunshu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had been worried that his family would run out of money after buying servants. He had been debating the entire day whether he should owe the teacher his tuition fees first and pay them in a few years. Now that he heard from his eldest sister that his family had a shop and a source of income, there was no problem. Gu Yunshu was relieved. He had an extra big bowl of food for dinner. Gu Yundong turned around and saw the expression on his face. She suddenly had a headache. Why did her brother think that his family was so poor that they could not even pay his tuition? She clearly acted like she was rich. If he was worried at such a young age, he might not grow up tall in the future. After dinner, the Tong family members began to clean up. Gu Yundong returned to her room. After a while, she came out with the bag she had brought back from the county. Everyone was busy and did not see her. Gu Yundong came out of the Zheng family's back door and went straight to the next door. Shao Qingyuan was feeding the horses. The Lu family's carriage was temporarily resting at his house. Lu Wei had said that he could return it when he was free. When he saw Gu Yundong enter, he was slightly stunned and could not help but stop what he was doing. Chapter 195. The clothes are gifted. Gu Yundong patted the bag in her hand with a smile and handed it to him. This is for you. What? Shao Qingyuan could tell. Wasn't this what she had taken out when she entered the ready-to-wear shop? Clothes. Shao Qingyuan looked at her and then at the bag in her hand. After a while, he held his breath and opened the bag. In the next moment, a navy blue dress was revealed. It was brand new and it made one's eyes light up. He looked up in shock, his voice slightly hoarse. You're giving it to me? Gu Yundong coughed lightly. That's right. I saw that the last time you went hunting in the mountains, when you came back, your clothes had already become strips. I didn't see you buy new clothes, so I took the cloth and went to the tailor's to get someone to make a set. After all, you'll be working with me in the future. You have to wear better clothes. Otherwise, people will think that I took all your money. As she spoke, she heaved a sigh of relief. She had finally found an excuse to give it away. The corners of Shao Qingyuan's lips curled up uncontrollably. He reached out to touch the new clothes, but immediately retracted his hand. He stuffed the bag back into Gu Yundong's arms and turned around to run to the water vat. He scooped 2 ladles of water and began to wash his hands carefully. Gu Yundong was confused at first and thought that he did not like it. Unexpectedly, after washing his hands, he began to carefully stroke his clothes, his face full of joy. At that moment, she suddenly felt sad and bitter. Auntie Dong had told her about Shao Qingyuan's background. She said that his adoptive parents had disliked him since he was young. He had picked up clothes that others had sewn and mended and didn't want to wear. How could clothes that others didn't wear be good? Especially in winter, the cotton was already hard and completely cold. He had to wear it for a few years, but he grew up quickly and was often laughed at. It was only after his grandfather passed away that he went to the ready-to-wear shop to buy 2 sets of clothes and changed back and forth. This was probably the first time he had received clothes from someone. Ahem, do you like it? Shao Qingyuan immediately nodded. When he looked up at Gu Yundong, his eyes were bright. You know my size? Isn't your focus wrong? I've made a rough estimate. I don't know if it fits. You can try it later. If it doesn't fit, you can change it. It fits, Shao Qingyuan said without thinking. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She suddenly could not stand his gaze and hurriedly said, That's all for now. Independent Illinois, go back. After saying that, she quickly left. Shao Qingyuan didn't move. He just stared at her back until she left. Then, he lowered his eyes to look at the bag in his hand, and the smile on his lips grew wider. He quickly turned around and entered the house, taking out his clothes to change into. It really fit him. It felt warm and comfortable on his body. However, in the next moment, he quickly took it off and gently folded it to the side. Then, he put on his original tattered clothes and went out the door with his bow and arrow. He went straight up the mountain. Gu Yundong did not know that. She had fallen asleep after returning to the Zheng family. Actually, she had also thought of asking Madame Dong to help make the clothes. However, that day, she took out the fabric for some reason. When she arrived at the county city, she asked the shopkeeper of the tailor shop to help make a set. Chapter 196. Familiar. Gu Yundong rubbed her brows, turned over, and fell asleep. The next day, she went to look for Qinliang to buy land. Qinliang was so shocked that he almost spat out his water. Buy land again? How come she still have money? I'm buying a homestead this time. I want to build a workshop. A workshop? Qinliang's eyes lit up. Their village was not very rich, and the villagers relied on those acres of land to make a living. Some villages had workshops. Even if it was a small village that specialized in carpentry, the village was also famous among those towns and counties. The villagers more or less benefited from it, and their families were much better. Now, there would actually be a workshop in their village? Qinliang was a little excited. He stood up and paced around the central room. After a long while, she finally calmed down and asked about serious matters. What is your workshop doing? How big is it? Do you have any idea? If you build a workshop, it won't be a joke. Of course. Don't worry, Uncle Chen. My workshop plans to make sugar. I want to buy 5 acres of land first and build it after spring. It was too late to build it now. The sugarcane was seasonal. When her workshop was completed, the sugarcane would be gone. Besides, Feng Danning was currently helping 2 other families to build houses. He could not spare the time. As for this period of time, she could only see if she could rent a place. Chen Liang listened to her roughly and nodded repeatedly. In the end, he waved his hand and said, "All right, 5 acres of land, or the one at the foot of the mountain." That's right. However, they still had to walk away from the house. Otherwise, it would be too noisy and it would be messy. Chen Liang pointed out a few places to her. After confirming it, he said that it would be done soon. But before Gu Yundong left, he stammered, "Well, Yundong, once your workshop is built, can you hire the locals from the village first?" Gu Yundong was stunned. He smiled and said, "Of course. The uncles and aunts in the village have helped me a lot recently. I will definitely think of them. But I will definitely hire people who are diligent and efficient. Forget about those who are sneaky." Of course, of course." Chen Liang nodded repeatedly, extremely happy. Gu Yundong really felt that he was a good village chief. He was focused on helping the villagers. Compared to the previous head of the Gu family, he was worlds apart. She went back, but Chen Liang was still standing at the door with a silly smile on his lips. Madame Zhou walked out and sighed slightly. The Gu family's girl will be amazing in the future. Don't you think we should listen to what she said last time? She was referring to the school where Niu Dan went to that Gu Yundong came to talk about. Actually, they were quite satisfied with that teacher and felt that he had taught them correctly. Shouldn't students just read books? Why would the adults in the family need them for farm work? Even if the teacher didn't say anything, they wouldn't let Niu Dan go to the fields. However, Gu Yundong said that the child had to have good stamina for the exams in the future. By helping the family, he could understand how difficult it was for his parents and family. He would cherish them even more. In any case, what she said made sense. However, she was only a 13-year-old girl after all. The teacher of the school was so old and was an elementary scholar. How could he be wrong? But look at Gu Yundong now. Wasn't she advancing step by step? Chen Liang was also thinking about this question. After a while, he said, "Let me think about it." When Gu Yundong returned to the Zheng family, he realized that only his mother was there. The Tong family's mother said, "Master Shao next door caught a roe deer." Everyone went to help. Gu Yundong was surprised. Shao Qingyuan entered the mountain. Shao Qingyuan returned after getting a roe deer. As soon as he entered, he took a shower and changed into his new clothes. When Dong Xilan entered, she happened to see him coming out in high spirits. She could not help but take a few more glances. The color of the clothes felt familiar. Chapter 197. Clothes make a man. Not only did Dong Xilan take a second look at him, but the others in the courtyard were also stunned when they saw him coming out in a new set of clothes. Shao Qingyuan's usual clothes were gray and especially old. Now that he was dressed like this, he surprisingly looked handsome and noble. He was not inferior to Lu Wei from the county. When Gu Yundong entered, she saw this scene and her eyes lit up. Indeed, clothes were everything. Shao Qingyuan's good looks had been ruined by him. But soon, when Gu Yundong's gaze landed on the roe deer on the ground, she frowned again. "Did you go into the mountains last night?" Shao Qingyuan suddenly thought of what she had said previously and thought that she was angry. He immediately explained, "I wasn't deep in the mountains. There's no danger." Gu Yundong pursed her lips and muttered softly, "It's late at night. Even if you didn't go deep into the mountains, it's still dangerous. Besides, the weather was so cold. Can't you hunt during the day? Alright, I won't go next time. Gu Yundong was speechless. She only muttered a few words and did not say that she wanted to order him around. Her ears were quite sharp. She coughed lightly and glanced at him again. The clothes fit you quite well. With that, she turned to look at the roe deer. She squatted down and poked it. It was actually quite fat. Perfect. We're moving tomorrow. I originally planned to roast meat to celebrate. Now, I don't have to go to town to buy meat. When Shao Qingyuan heard this, he immediately pointed at the wild chickens and rabbits beside him. There's still a lot over there. It should be enough to eat tomorrow. He was too excited last night and was full of energy. He had caused a lot of trouble on the way up the mountain. Gu Yunka ran to Gu Yundong's side and held her hand. Eldest sister, is the roast meat delicious? It's delicious. I guarantee you'll drool. The little girl's eyes immediately lit up. Then it'll help. She looked around and pointed at the pheasant. Help pluck the feathers. Go on. The little girl obediently ran to the pile of prey and began to pluck it. In the end, she was pecked by the pheasant that was still alive. The little girl covered her small hand and patted the pheasant's head. If you peck me again, I'll eat you. Gu Yundong's mouth twitched when she saw this. When she saw Xingyu step forward, she did not care anymore. However, the girl from the Tong family asked her curiously, Eldest miss, where are we moving to tomorrow? The girl from the Tong family was called Tong Shuetao. She was 14 years old and looked soft and weak, but she was stronger than her father. She could lift the roe deer in front of her with one hand. Perhaps because they were slowly getting familiar with each other and knew that their master was not as fierce as before, they became a little bolder. Gu Yundong liked her. She worked hard and was smart. She was a little surprised. We're moving to the new house opposite. Didn't you see it when you went out? It's quite a big building. Tong Shuetao widened her eyes and opened her mouth wide. Of course she saw it. So, that was the master's house, where they would live in the future? Gu Yundong laughed. She thought that even if she did not say it, they would be able to guess it. Alright, let's prepare the roe deer and the wild chicken and rabbits first. Tong Shuetao blushed and went to pick up the roe deer. Gu Yundong then went to look for Dong Xiulan. She wanted to ask her to make a school bag for Gu Yunshu to carry to school. However, after looking around and not seeing anyone, she could not help but walk in. Just as she reached the door of the room on the left, she suddenly heard Dong Xiulan's voice. She seemed to have mentioned her. Chapter 198, The two of them are quite suitable for each other, I didn't see wrongly. The clothes Qingyuan is wearing belong to Yundong. Dong Xiulan was talking to her husband, Zhenghu. Do you think the two of them? Before she could finish speaking, Zhenghu interrupted her. Don't talk nonsense. This is completely ungrounded. Sigh, I'm just worried about those two children. Dong Xiulan sighed softly. It's fine for Qingyuan. He's a loner, and no one cares if he has a wife or not. He doesn't care either. He's almost 20 years old. If he delays any longer, he'll become an old bachelor in the village. Dong Xiulan fed Zhenghu a mouthful of rice. What about Yundong? Although she has a father, a mother, and a family, her father is missing, and her mother doesn't understand these things. Yundong has to take care of herself. She also has to look for her father. Now, she's focused on earning more money. What do you think her family will do when she gets married in the future? Zhenghu couldn't help but nod when he heard that. Yes, she'll be 14 years old after the new year. It's almost time to talk about marriage. With Yundong's current family background, there must be many people proposing marriage. It's just that after she gets married, it won't be easy to take care of her mother and the others. Her in-laws probably won't agree either. Those people who propose marriage are most likely after her family's house. Yundong will definitely suffer if she marries into such a family. Dong Xiaolan's eyes suddenly lit up as she spoke. So I think Yundong and Qingyuan are actually quite suitable for each other. Shao Qingyuan was alone and was doing business with Yundong now. Without in-laws, he could help Yundong take care of Madame Yang and the other two in the future. He was also good-looking and capable. If others wanted to cause trouble, he could beat them out with one hand. Moreover, be it Madame Yang or Yunshu and Yinka, they all liked him. He wouldn't go after her house and money. He was a reliable person. If it weren't for the huge difference between her Xingyu and Shao Qingyuan, Dong Xiulan would have wanted him to be her son-in-law. Gu Yundong stood at the door and listened. The image of Shao Qingyuan standing in front of her in his new clothes flashed across her mind, and her heart suddenly beat faster. She suddenly reached out and slapped her face. What was she thinking? She was only 14 years old after the new year. It was still early. Gu Yundong did not look for Dong Xiulan. She turned around and left the Shao family. As soon as she reached the courtyard, she saw Shao Qingyuan. Gu Yundong thought of what Madame Dong and Zheng Hu had said and subconsciously glared at him. Shao Qingyuan was confused. Seeing her leave in a hurry, he quickly said, I promise I won't go hunting at night again. Gu Yundong staggered and almost fell. Who asked for your promise? She walked even faster and only heaved a sigh of relief when she reached the Zheng family's door. However, in the next moment, a soft cry suddenly came from behind. Hey! Gu Yundong was shocked. She turned around and saw a head sneakily sticking out from the haystack not far away and staring at her for a long time. Gu Yundong could not help but roll her eyes. She strode over. If you're looking for me, just come for me. Why are you sneaking around? Don't you think this is more eye-catching? Zhuangzi paused and thought that it made sense. He stood up straight and chuckled. You're looking for me at this time? Is there a situation? Gu Yundong had asked Zhuangzi to keep an eye on Madame Fong and her daughter, but he had not come to her. She did not expect him to come looking for her today. Chapter 199, Discovering the Adultery. Zhuangzi smiled at her mysteriously. Slowly, that smile became vulgar. Gu Yundong could not help but take a small step back. Stop laughing. Hurry up and say it. His smile was too ugly. Ahem. Zhuangzi coughed lightly and looked around before saying softly, You asked me to keep an eye on the mother and daughter previously. Did you already guess that there was an affair? Hee, your guess is right. That Madame Fong looks innocent, but I didn't expect her to have hooked up with someone long ago. Gu Yundong was speechless. Huh? She found out that Madame Fong was having an affair? When did this happen? Why didn't she know? Zhuangzi started to smile wretchedly again. Do you know who Madame Fong hooked up with? It's beyond your imagination. Can you get to the point? I didn't expect you to be a gossipy man. Look at how excited you are. The flesh on your face is trembling, okay? Oh, let me tell you. Madame Fang's lover is our village's widower, Zhao Dafa. Before dawn this morning, I saw the two of them secretly meet. Madame Fong even gave Zhao Dafa a bag of something. I don't know what it was. However, the two of them seemed to have quarreled later. Zhao Dafa threw the bag on the ground and left. Zhao Dafa? Gu Yundong did not know him. Although she knew most of the people in the village entrance was too far from the foot of the mountain. She did not recognize all of the people. Zhuangzi was still clicking his tongue. Unfortunately, I was far away and didn't hear what they were arguing about. However, I didn't expect Madame Fong to actually take a fancy to Zhao Dafa. She's bold enough. What's wrong with Zhao Dafa? Gu Yundong asked curiously. This Zhao Dafa, right? He's quite good-looking and comes from a good family. He's even 2 years younger than Madame Fong. However, others might not know this, but I know him very well. That Zhao Dafa likes to beat his wife. Zhuangzi said softly. Zhao Dafa's previous wife ran away because she couldn't stand Zhao Dafa beating her up. She ran away in the middle of the night. I happened to come back from Liangzi's house that day after drinking and saw it with my own eyes. However, the Zhao family said that she was sick the next day and needed to stay at home to recuperate. Half a month later, they said that she died. That Zhao family really cares about their reputation. They don't dare to say that she ran away. How far would it take for a woman to run away in this era where transportation was inconvenient and difficult? Madame Fong and Zhao Dafa? Gu Yindong felt that it was unlikely. However, she could not figure it out for the time being. She could only let Zhuangzi continue to keep an eye on them. Zhuangzi seemed to be especially enthusiastic about this matter. When he heard this, he immediately nodded and turned to run. He only ran 2 steps before he came back. He looked at Gu Yindong and said hesitantly, "Well, I have to thank you. I know that you hired my parents to do things and gave them a very high salary." Without waiting for Gu Yindong to react, he disappeared. Gu Yindong shook her head and returned to the Zheng family. Because there were many people at home, all kinds of meat were prepared quickly. The next morning, everyone hurriedly moved their things to their new home. Gu Yindong took out the barbecue grill that she had ordered previously. This thing was quite big and there was no problem with roasting meat. Previously, she had invited guests when she set up the beam. This time, she would not invite them. However, Gu Yindong still asked Gu Yunshu to invite the village chief and the Feng family over. Unexpectedly, they had not returned even after half a day. Gu Yindong decided to take a look herself. Before she reached the village chief's house, she saw an unfamiliar person looking at her. Gu Yindong was quite sharp. She turned around and saw a middle-aged man standing not far away. Chapter 200, He actually ran away. Gu Yindong frowned. Just as she was about to ask who he was, she saw that person jump up in shock like a mouse seeing a cat and run away. Gu Yindong was speechless. Did she have the word fiendish on her face? "Hey, isn't that Zhao Dafa?" A familiar voice suddenly came from behind. Gu Yindong turned around and saw Chen Liang's family coming over. The one who spoke was Madame Zhou. She was holding a basket filled with various vegetables. Zhao Dafa. So he was the Zhao Dafa that Zhuangzi was talking about. Gu Yindong looked thoughtfully in the direction where he had run off before asking Madame Zhou, "I was about to look for you. I asked Yunshu to invite you over for a meal. I haven't seen you all this time and was thinking about what had delayed you." Gu Yunshu was standing at the back, talking to Niu Dan. When he heard this, he looked up and said, "Don't worry, eldest sister. I will definitely complete the mission. Isn't that so?" Madame Zhou smiled and said, "Your Yunshu is too eloquent. That little mouth of his is so eloquent. If we didn't come, we would feel that we had committed a heinous crime. However, we can't come empty-handed. Look, we picked some vegetables from the field and we were delayed for a while. Auntie, you're too kind." As she spoke, she turned around and didn't see Feng Daning's family. Only then did Yunshu say, "Aunt Hohot is not at home. Uncle Feng said that he is building a house. He's too busy to come." Feng Daning was now a busy man. Ever since he helped Gu Yindong build that green brick house, many people had lined up to ask him to build a house. Now, he had 2 tasks on hand and was extremely busy. Coincidentally, Lu Hohot had brought the 2 children back to her parents' house yesterday and had not returned today. Gu Yindong nodded and left with Chen Liang and the others. It was only when they arrived at the Gu residence that Chen Liang and the others realized that she had actually bought servants. They had not heard anything for the past 2 days. She was too low-key. Looking at how energetic these people were, she must have spent a lot of money. The Gu family was really getting better. Gu Yindong quickly roasted the meat she had prepared the day before and added her own condiments. In an instant, the fragrance filled the air. The children sniffed hard and looked at the food on the barbecue rack. Gu Yundong tried the raw deer meat. Yes, it was tender. She roasted a few more skewers and moved aside to let the others do it while she chatted with Chen Liang. Only then did Chen Liang know that the Gu family's business was actually working with Shao Qingyuan. Actually, this was good too. Chen Liang had a good impression of Shao Qingyuan and was not as afraid as the people in the village. This meal of roasted meat lasted until the sky darkened before everyone dispersed reluctantly. The Tong family swiftly packed up their things. Gu Yundong stood in the courtyard and looked at the new house. He smiled exceptionally happily. They could stay in the new house today. Not only her, but Madame Yang and the two little ones were also jumping around happily. They lay on the bed and could not fall asleep. It'll be good if we can find father. Gu Yunshu sighed faintly. He was the one who missed Gu Dajiang the most. Whenever there was a joyous occasion at home, he hoped that Gu Dajiang would be there too. It would be perfect if the family could reunite. Gu Yundong patted his head. We will find him. After chatting for a while, Gu Yundong let the three of them sleep. Then, under Madame Yang's eager gaze, she decisively went to the room next door to sleep. She slept so comfortably in the new house that the entire family woke up late the next day. Gu Yundong sat up in a daze, vaguely thinking that she had forgotten something. Chapter 201, Role Model. It was not until Madame Dong came over and handed her the school bag that she suddenly woke up. Yes, she had to send Yunshu to school today. Gu Yundong cursed in her heart. She thanked Madame Dong and ran to Madame Yang's room with the school bag. Madame Yang had already woken up. She had developed a biological clock. Although she slept especially comfortably today, she did not wake up much later. The two little ones were sleeping messily on the bed. She searched for a long time before she found Yunshu's head on the other side. She took the opportunity to dig Yunk's head out of the blanket to prevent her from suffocating. Yunshu, wake up, wake up. She pinched the little fellow's nose. The latter closed his eyes and immediately opened his mouth to breathe. Gu Yundong, let's see how capable you are. She simply carried him out from under the blanket. Gu Yunshu shivered and woke up. Eldest sister? Get up and get dressed. I'll send you to school. School? He tilted his head, still not understanding. It was only when Gu Yundong brought his clothes over that he suddenly remembered. He quickly stood up and got off the bed. He ran to the wardrobe and rummaged for a long time before taking out the new clothes that Madame Dong had made for him. I want to wear this. Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Seeing that he was shaking his head happily, she could only put the clothes in her hands back. Gu Yunshu quickly packed up and carried the novel and strange little bag on his back. He took the pen, ink, paper, and inkstone that he had bought long ago and hurriedly got into the carriage. Gu Yundong brought him there, and Father Tong drove the carriage. She might be very busy in the future, so Father Tong was responsible for taking Yunshu. The school's gatekeeper already knew her and sent them in enthusiastically. When she saw Qin Wenzheng, Gu Yundong was a little surprised. What was wrong with Mr. Qin? He looked very haggard. However, Qin Wenzheng sneered. He saw through her thoughts at a glance. If not for you, would I be so busy? She didn't even think about why no one had come to Yongfu village in the past few days. Didn't she know how big the commotion in Jianghu restaurant that day was? It was all because he had helped her block it. If she really had a conscience, she should have expressed it. Just as this thought came to his mind, Gu Yundong handed him a bag of things with a serious expression. I know that the last time Master Qin sent all the sugar away, you didn't keep any for yourself. This is for Madame and Anning to try. Please accept it. Qin Wenzheng coughed lightly. Your relationship with Madame is quite good. With that, he took the sugar without hesitation and led Gu Yunshu in. Gu Yundong stood on the spot and looked at his back. She sighed in her heart, what a role model. After settling the matter of Gu Yunshu going to school, she returned to the village. She had to recruit people and start working. The carriage drove all the way into Yongfu village. Just as it reached the entrance of the village, they saw Zhao Dafa. Zhao Dafa also saw her, and his expression changed slightly. He turned around and ran. Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes. If he hid when he saw her, what else could it be but that he had done something bad? She picked up something beside her and threw it at him. Zhao Dafa exclaimed and stopped in his tracks. Gu Yundong jumped down from the carriage. Father Tong, who was driving the carriage, blocked Zhao Dafa's way first. He had no way to retreat. He could only turn around and look at Gu Yundong with a dry smile. Did you do something to me? Gu Yundong sized him up. Otherwise, why would you run away for no reason? Chapter 202, Recruitment. Zhao Dafa shuddered and hurriedly explained, I didn't do anything. I don't really believe it. Really, I swear. Zhao Dafa was about to cry. That woman from the Qin family asked me to visit your house more often. I didn't agree. I rejected her. I didn't think of stealing. I'm different from a hooligan like Hu Liang. You can't hit me. Zhao Dafa was really afraid of Gu Yundong. Not only did he see how Gu Yundong dealt with Hu Liang and the others, but he also saw the scene of Hu Liang's legs being broken. He remembered that because Hu Liang had scolded Gu Yundong a few more times, he had been tortured to death by the Peng family servants. That day, when he was in the county city, he saw it with his own eyes. When he returned, he had a nightmare. When he met the Gu family, he avoided them. Zhao Dafa was certain that Gu Yundong was definitely related to the Peng family and was not someone he could offend. Gu Yundong could roughly tell from his words that Madame Fong and her daughter did want Zhao Dafa to cause trouble for her family, but Zhao Dafa was afraid of her and rejected them. It was not difficult to understand what Zhuangzi had said about the two of them quarreling. She had heard before that people who hit their wife and children at home were usually cowards outside. They bullied the weak and feared the strong. Zhao Dafa was one of them. Can I leave now? Zhao Dafa asked in a low voice. Gu Yundong looked at him and did not know what to say. He nodded and ignored him. He got back into the carriage. She was very busy. When she got back, she started recruiting people to prepare sugar. She had also chosen a temporary address. Chen Liang had helped her find it. It was a family with the surname Lu in the village. That family was a young couple who lived with their father. There was a huge courtyard at home. It was said that it had been used to raise chickens a long time ago. However, a few years ago, there was a chicken plague and more than half of the chickens died. Not only did the Lu family suffer a huge loss, but they also owed an external debt. Last year, they had just paid off all their debt before their son married a wife. When they heard that the Gu family wanted to rent their courtyard, the three of them agreed. Due to the size of the courtyard and the noise of sugar making, Gu Yundong's rent was 800 copper coins a month. She had a place, but she was short of manpower. Gu Yundong began to recruit openly. At first, she considered the people who had built a house for her family. However, these people weren't free now and followed Feng Danning everywhere. Chen Liang was enthusiastic and helped her pass the message yesterday. Therefore, when Gu Yundong returned home from the county city, there were many people gathered at the entrance of the Gu residence. Not only were there people from the village, but there were also many people from the neighboring village. Upon seeing her return, all of them rushed forward and asked, Yundong, is your family really going to hire someone to help with the work? How much is the salary? Yundong, are you really going to build a workshop? Yundong, what do you think of me? I'm very strong. I can do anything you want me to. Yundong, Gu Yundong was surrounded and almost pushed through the door. All of them were calling her so affectionately. They had clearly not spoken before. She coughed lightly and stood on the steps. Everyone, listen to me. I do want to set up a sugar workshop, but the workshop can only be built after spring. At the moment, I can only borrow the Liu family's courtyard to use for the time being, so I won't hire many people. About 10 people will be enough. The salary will be set at 500 copper coins a month. If you do your job well, it will naturally be increased. 500 copper coins was a lot. Of course, the workers have to be diligent when I hire people, and, Miss Gu, what do you think of me? I'm very efficient. Gu Yindong was interrupted before she could finish speaking. She frowned slightly and looked at the person who spoke. She did not recognize him. He did not seem to be from the village. However, Dong Xiaolan's expression instantly turned ugly when she saw this person. Chapter 203, Im from Yongfu village. Gu Yundong ignored the person and continued, there's one more thing that I have to say in advance. Because there are not many people to hire, we will choose from the locals of Yongfu village first. But don't worry, in the future, the workshop, I'm from Yongfu village. Choose me, the person shouted again. Gu Yundong was not very patient to begin with. Moreover, this person had interrupted her again and again. She shot a cold gaze at the woman who had spoken. She looked young, about 17 or 18 years old, but she was dressed like a woman. She must have married. Even if you're from Yongfu village, I won't choose you. The person was still smiling, but when she heard this, she was stunned for a moment. Her face immediately turned stiff. Why don't you choose me? Why not? I'm agile and diligent. Didn't you say your request just now? Isn't it just right for me? Madame Dong snorted coldly and said, how are you good? You're already married. You can't be considered a member of Yongfu village. The other villagers knew that there were few spots, so they naturally agreed. That's right. You've already married into the Liang family village. How can you still have the face to come to Yongfu village and say that you meet the request? Li Xiangquan, don't come here to join in the fun. Hurry up and go home to nurse the children. Let's go. Don't block us. Yindong hasn't even finished speaking and she's already shouting non-stop. Does she know the rules? Li Xiangquan almost stomped her feet. She glared at the people who spoke and shouted, even if I am married, she's still from Yongfu village. I'm not leaving. I want to work in her workshop. Then, she looked at Gu Yindong. When will your workshop start working? I'll be the first to go. Gu Yindong was so angry that she laughed. So this woman was married. No wonder this woman thought she was easy to bully because she was young and thin-skinned. Didn't you hear what I said? I don't choose you. You can get lost now. Li Xiangquan widened her eyes. Girl, how can you say that? Who are you telling to get lost? You're just a little girl who has just come to Yongfu village. Why are you so insensible? Gu Yindong completely lost his patience and said to Tong Shuitao, throw her away. Tong Shuitao was already itching to give it a try. One look at this woman and one would be displeased. She was the one who was insensible. When the young miss spoke, she would always interrupt her, and her voice was especially loud. She walked towards Li Xiangquan. The latter did not take the soft and weak Tong Shuitao seriously at all. She sneered and did not move. It was only when Tong Shuitao grabbed her waist and dragged her out that everyone suddenly gasped. Li Xiangquan was not thin at all, especially after giving birth. She had never lost weight, not to mention that she was taller and stronger than that girl. But now, she was easily dragged away. Li Xiangquan widened her eyes and panted. She hurriedly shouted to the side, are you dead? Can't you see that your wife has been bullied? A lean man at the side immediately rushed out. He did not even look at Tong Shuitao. Instead, he shouted at Gu Yundong, tell her to let him go, do you hear me? Otherwise what? A cold voice came from behind him. This voice was very familiar, so familiar that the man felt a chill run down his spine and almost jumped up. Li Xianxuan was also stunned when she saw who it was. Chapter 204. All afraid of Shao Qingyuan. Shao Qingyuan asked again, otherwise what? The man slowly turned his head away and his face instantly turned pale. He could not speak for a long time. He stammered for a long time but could not express himself clearly. Shao Qingyuan's face was cold as he looked at Li Xianxuan. Who asked you to come here? Li Xianxuan was a little braver than her man, but not by much. She said softly, I came to the workshop to work. No need. Get lost. Li Xianxuan shrunk her neck and tried her best to defend herself. This isn't your workshop. If you say you don't need me, then I'm not needed. This is my workshop. Shao Qingyuan stared at her and said word by word. Li Xianxuan's eyes widened, and so did the others present. Then, they all turned to look at Gu Yundong. The latter shrugged. Yes, this workshop is indeed a collaboration between Shao Qingyuan and me. He introduced me to young Master Lu and made a guarantee so that young Master Lu would lend me money. That was why I opened the workshop, so this workshop is half Shao Qingyuan's. This was what they had discussed in private. After all, this was easy to accept. If everyone knew that Shao Qingyuan had actually saved a few hundred taels of silver, who knew how much trouble he would cause? Therefore, they might as well borrow Lu Wei's name and use it. Perhaps it could even serve as a deterrent. As expected, when she said this, the villagers' gazes became complicated. However, for some reason, a few people quietly retreated. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. Oh my, so Shao Qingyuan had such an effect. When Li Xianxuan and her husband heard this, they turned around and left, not daring to say anything about going to the workshop to work. The originally noisy crowd also began to discuss softly. Then, a large group of people left. There was no need for Gu Yundong to emphasize the recruitment conditions. Shao Qingyuan was like a stabilizing force. He stood there, and many people who were originally scheming left. The rest were villagers whose families were really in trouble and needed this job, as well as people who didn't have any conflicts with Shao Qingyuan and didn't feel guilty or afraid. But there were still too many people, so Gu Yundong could only choose a few. In the end, 8 men and 3 women were left behind. They were all in their prime. Including Dong Xilan, the Lu family of 3, and the village chief's second son, Qin Jinbao, there were a total of 16 people. After confirming the candidates, Gu Yundong took out a contract and read the terms to them. If there were no objections, they would press their thumbprints and start work in 2 days. Only one woman objected and did not sign the contract. Gu Yundong did not force her. The 16 people became 15. Gu Yundong explained the things to take note of and also said that this was a short-term job that would only last for 4 to 5 months. However, if it was suitable, the work would continue next year. When the workshop was built, it would be even more standardized. Short-term work could also become longer. No one had any objections when they heard that. At this time, there was no farming to do, and it was difficult to find things to do outside. They sat at home all day and ate food without work. They were also anxious. Not to mention that the Gu family paid them a lot of money and the work was not heavy. When the 16 of them went home, their families were happy. They all urged them to do their best and strive to stay after the workshop was built next year. After everyone left, Gu Yundong put away the contract. He then had the time to ask Shao Qingyuan, who is Li Xianxuan. Chapter 205. She's from the Li family. Shao Qingyuan's expression was cold. Someone from the Li family. Gu Yundong did not understand at first. After a while, he reacted. The Li family? Wasn't it the family that adopted Shao Qingyuan? Heh, this shameless person actually dared to come over even though she knew that Shao Qingyuan lived nearby. After Shao Qingyuan left, Madame Dong said to her that Li Xianxuan is only a year younger than Qingyuan. She has been domineering since she was young. When Qingyuan was young, she bullied him countless times. Later on, she got married and even came back every other day to cause trouble for Qingyuan. It was only when old Master Li passed away and Qingyuan stopped indulging them that the Li family stopped. What she didn't say was that half of Li Xianqin's man's hair had been cut off by Shao Qingyuan. He was so frightened that he peed his pants. He had not been to Yongfu village for more than half a year. They did not expect him to appear again today. He deserved to be taught another lesson. After Madame Dong finished speaking, she glanced at Gu Yundong's expression and sighed softly. Qingyuan is actually quite a good person. As long as you don't anger him, he won't teach you a lesson. Look at those people who are so afraid of him. Which one of them doesn't deserve it? Our family has been his neighbor for so long. If we really need his help, he will come immediately without a word. Don't think that he hasn't married yet. That's because others have ruined his reputation and don't understand his character. Otherwise, with his appearance and ability, the number of girls who want to marry him can line up from our village to the town. Ahem, a light cough sounded at the door. Dong Xilan looked up and saw that Shao Qingyuan had returned. She quickly stood up. There's still soup stewing in the pot over there. I'll go take a look. With that, she slipped away. Gu Yundong also stood up. I'll go and see how the Lu family's courtyard is cleaned up. She slipped past him and ran away. Shao Qingyuan stood on the spot and thought about her slightly evasive gaze. Was she shy? He lowered his eyes and smiled. In the following days, Gu Yundong was exceptionally busy. The Lu family's courtyard had been tidied up, and all the necessary tools were available. The hired people also began to work. Shao Qingyuan and Shen Hongyi were the ones who went to buy the sugarcane. They had already visited all the nearby villages, so they went further away. The Lu family made black sugar. After that, Gu Yundong brought it back and processed it into white sugar in her courtyard. The 6 members of the Tong family were all helping. Gu Yundong had also raised their monthly allowance. She had told the Tong family in advance that the production of white sugar was an order from the emperor of the capital. If anyone leaked the formula, their entire family would be executed. The Tong family was honest to begin with. When they heard this, they did their best and controlled the process tightly. The sugar production went on in an orderly manner. When it was almost done, Gu Yundong began to plan to open the shop. After checking the calendar, the nearest good day was 2 days before the Laba festival. Gu Yundong took a look. Wasn't this perfect? They could cook Laba porridge when they went home after buying sugar. Hence, she set the date to the 6th of December and asked Lu Wei to help promote it. Lu Wei was not afraid of publicity. It did not take long for everyone in his circle to know. Although the price of white sugar was not too ridiculous, it was still expensive to ordinary people. Therefore, the target customers were basically those rich families. On the 6th day of December, Gu Yundong put on her new clothes early in the morning. She got into the carriage and went straight to the county. Chapter 206. The family goes to the county city. Gu Yundong also applied for leave for Gu Yunshu. Father Tong and his wife were the only ones guarding the Tong family. Everyone else went to the county to open for business. Dong Xilan also brought the children over. Her husband asked Father Tong to help take care of them for the time being. Gu Yundong's carriage was not big enough. Fortunately, Luan came to pick her up early. He looked much more excited than her. He only turned the carriage around and brought Shao Qingyuan to pick Lu Wei up after sending her to the entrance of the shop. The Gu family's shop was in the east of the city. It was called Gus and the name was given by Shao Qingyuan. When Gu Yundong went to discuss it with him, he almost blurted it out. The street in the east of the city was considered the most prosperous and lively commercial street in Fengkai County. There were pharmaceutical shops, butcher shops, grocery stores, satin cellars and restaurants everywhere. In the middle, it was originally the Tao family's wine shop. Some time ago, it suddenly closed and was renovated. The surrounding shops did not know what it looked like. Gu Yundong had personally designed the interior of Gus. There was a long wooden board hanging on the right side of the door. On it was written the goods for sale. The first line was white sugar, followed by brown sugar, orange sugar, and pear sugar. There were not many types. At the moment, Gu Yundong could only buy these few things. He would take his time. After entering, there was a round table that could be rotated. The table was tied with clean straw, a few candied haws, and lollipops. Next to it was a counter. This counter was different from other shops. It was beige in color and had a round arc. It was carved with patterns and looked much brighter. There were all kinds of cabinets around the shop. There was a wooden sign hanging on each of them, indicating the name and price. She even divided the first-grade white sugar and the second-grade white sugar. After all, the Tong family had just started making them. There would always be some faulty products when they were not familiar with them. Actually, it did not affect them much. It was just that they were not that white. This kind could be sold at a lower price. The backyard of the shop had also been tidied up. Gu Yundong and the others had arrived early and the shop wouldn't be open until a particular time, so they went to the backyard together. Dong Xiulan said enviously, "Yundong is so capable. She even has such a big house and shop in the county. You'll have it sooner or later." Gu Yundong poured a glass of water. The last time Uncle Zheng came back from the county, didn't the doctor say that he would slowly recover after recuperating for a while? By then, Aunt's life will be better. Besides, Xingjia, Xingyu, and Zhenglu are so sensible. Your good days will come later. Some time ago, Shao Qingyuan took Uncle Zheng to the best medical center in the county to see a doctor. Perhaps because he had eaten well recently and was in a good mood, Zhenghu's condition was very optimistic. Now that Dong Xiulan was working in the workshop and the three children had helped a lot, and Gu Yundong would pay her, the Zheng family was indeed prospering. Dong Xiulan's smile widened. She was very grateful to Gu Yundong. If not for her, their family might have really declined. She was a woman with 3 children and had to take care of her man. Not only was she tired, but her man was also very depressed during that period of time. He almost gave up on himself and felt that he was a burden to them. Shao Qingyuan happened to be in the prefectural city at that time. He didn't know the situation even if he wanted to help. Now, everything would really be fine. Just as they were talking, the sound of banging came from outside the door. The people in the courtyard were stunned and ran out. Chapter 207, Opening Dai. As soon as the door opened, she saw a huge lion head rushing towards her. Gu Yundong immediately took a step back and subconsciously wanted to raise her leg to kick it. The lion head began to turn to the side again, and the lion tail jumped around. This one was not enough. Soon, another lion also jumped up. The second lion was obviously more professional than the first. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She swore that she had never thought of calling the dragon and lion dancers over. It turned out that the banging was their gongs and drums. Just as she was thinking about it, the first lion's head was removed, revealing Lu Wei's somewhat silly face. How is it? This opening is lively, right? It attracted everyone. He wiped the sweat off his face and suddenly shouted at the lion behind him, "Shao Qingyuan, come here." The lion behind also removed its head. Shao Qingyuan glared at Lu Wei with a cold expression. Gu Yundong was originally speechless, but when she saw Shao Qingyuan's attire, she could not help but laugh. "I was wondering why you left with Luan. So you prepared such a surprise. Haha, this suits you very well. Really, you're especially handsome. You were even better than Lu Wei in lion dance just now." Shao Qingyuan was originally unhappy. He was completely forced to come by Lu Wei. But now, seeing her smile so brightly, he suddenly felt that it was just a lion dance. It was not a big deal. However, Lu Wei was a little dissatisfied. What did she mean by better than him? He had specially trained for a day. No, half a day. He should be better than Shao Qingyuan, who had been pulled over at the last minute. However, before he could retort, a commotion suddenly sounded from behind. Manager Gu, congratulations on opening the business. Tao Feng was the one who spoke. He led his servants over and even brought gifts. Gu Yindong did not know him, but Lu Wei snorted coldly. However, he did not say anything and only told her in a low voice, "This is Tao Xing's elder brother, Tao Feng. However, the two of them do not have the same mother. He has no feud with me." Gu Yindong was enlightened. Since the visitor was a guest, Gu Yindong naturally welcomed him. "Young Master Tao, you're too kind. Please come in." Then, she asked the second son of the Tong family to serve tea. As soon as he entered, many more people came one after another. They were all young masters who had participated in the bet in Jinshu restaurant that day. Gu Yindong only recognized the young master of the county magistrate's family. The others were unfamiliar, but she welcomed them indirectly. There were a lot of people. Although the shop was big, there were very few tables and chairs. Gu Yindong could only ask Shao Qingyuan to borrow stools next door. Unexpectedly, when she turned around, she found Shao Qingyuan looking at Tao Feng. She pursed her lips slightly and recalled that last time at Jinshu restaurant, he had also stared at the Tao family for a long time. Gu Yindong did not understand. Did Shao Qingyuan have any conflict with the Tao family? It didn't look like it. If there was, the Tao family wouldn't be so calm when they saw Shao Qingyuan, right? Just as she was thinking about it, Peng Zhongfei came over. Not only did he come, but he also brought his wife in. However, the expression on his face was a little impatient. It was obvious that he did not want to bring his wife. However, in the next moment, when he looked up and saw Gu Yindong, his expression instantly became bright. There was even a hint of flattery in his smile. Seeing this, Madame Peng's face suddenly darkened. She tightened her grip on the handkerchief in her hands and secretly tore it. Gu Yindong was speechless. Was he trying to attract haters for her? Chapter 208, Madame Ya misses. Peng's surname was Yao. The nanny beside her was Nanny Qian, who had come to deliver the congratulatory gift when the Gu family set up the beam. Nanny Qian smiled and introduced, "Miss Gu, this is my young madam." Gu Yindong nodded at Madame Yao. Madame Yao was sizing her up, but she had a smile on her face and looked very friendly. "Miss Gu, congratulations. I heard that your sugar is unique in Fengkai County. My master saw it last time at Jinshu restaurant. When he came back, he praised it so much that I was curious and couldn't wait to see it. Look, I shamelessly followed my master here. Don't take it to heart." Gu Yindong also laughed. "Madame Peng, you must be joking. It's not that exaggerated. Let's go to the backyard and drink a cup of white sugar water. It tastes good." "Okay." Madame Yao asked Nanny Qian to deliver the gift and nodded with a smile. Peng Zhongfei was not the only one who brought his wife here today. Gu Yindong had asked Dong Xilan to invite the others to the backyard for tea. Since Madame Yao was here, Gu Yindong naturally led her to the back. Dong Xilan was a countryside woman. How could she have interacted with the wives of these wealthy families? She had always been worried. Fortunately, she had the wife of the eldest son of the Tong family, Madame Jiang. Madame Jiang had been a servant in a rich family before. Although she could not serve her master directly, she knew the rules of these families. Seeing that Dong Xilan was uncomfortable, she whispered that she would serve tea and entertain her. Most of these madams knew each other and would find someone to chat with. Dong Xilan nodded repeatedly. She didn't want to be in the middle of these people. However, she had promised to help Yindong today, so she was afraid that she would mess it up. When Gu Yindong led Madame Yao in, she saw Dong Xiulan sweating profusely and trembling with fear as she held the candied water. She immediately held her forehead. It was her fault for not thinking it through. It was embarrassing. Fortunately, Wenzheng and his wife had arrived. Madame Gu had a good relationship with Gu Yundong and was Yunshu's master's wife. At this moment, she was naturally pulled over to help greet Madame Yao and the others. Gu Yundong chatted with her for a while before leaving. It was very lively outside. With Lu Wei and Shao Qingyuan around, there was actually not much of a problem. Many people were looking at the white sugar, and some were asking about the lollipop that was inserted in the middle of a straw and emitted the fragrance of fruit. Many shopkeepers next door saw so many rich young masters and young madams coming to support the new shop, so they came over to look curiously. After knowing what was sold in the shop, all of them widened their eyes and were eager to give it a try. However, when they heard the price, they were still a little afraid. This candy was good, but 100 copper coins per tael was really unbearable. However, Gu Yundong was not worried about the customers at all. After the opening, her sugar would be sold like crazy. I want 50 pounds. I want 100 pounds. I don't want much. 20 caddies is enough. Gu Yundong looked at the people who rushed to the counter with silver in their hands and asked their servants to block the counter with white sugar, as if they were afraid that the sugar would be snatched away. Gu Yundong coughed lightly. It's my humble shop's honor to have all of you here today. However, there's a limited number of goods, so each customer can only buy 5 caddies at most. I'll pay more, someone said. Gu Yundong shook her head. Only 5 caddies. In such a short period of time, the amount of white sugar she could produce was limited. How could she sell dozens of caddies? Everyone was extremely disappointed. In the end, they could only carry a small cloth bag out. Peng Zhongfei also bought 5 caddies, but he left after throwing down 20 taels of silver. Madame Yao saw his actions clearly and her eyes could not help but darken. Chapter 209. Call Gu Xian'er over. Peng Zhongfei happily got into the carriage with 5 caddies of white sugar. He didn't even care about Madame Yao's expression. Nanny Qian carefully helped her into the car and advised in a low voice, "Young madam, don't think too much. Young master might just like this white sugar. He'll naturally be happy if he can buy it." Madame Yao snorted and closed her eyes to rest after getting into the carriage. She thought of Gu Yundong, a woman who was full of vitality, capable, and beautiful. However, she wasn't master's type. She hadn't fully matured yet, and master liked someone like concubine Xia. Yes, she was not master's type. Madame Yao thought about it and heaved a sigh of relief. Peng Zhongfei's voice sounded in her ear. This candy is too little. I'll ask the Gu family's girl later if she can give us more. No matter what, they had a little friendship, right? She looks better than last time. Madame Yao suddenly opened her eyes. Master, do you think Miss Gu is quite good-looking? Yes, Peng Zhongfei said without looking up. He had only seen her 3 times. The first time, she was a country girl who was dressed in rustic clothes and had a shriveled body. The second time, in Jianghu restaurant, her expression was much better. She looked energetic, but she looked petty in front of a large group of glamorous young masters. However, looking at her today, if one did not look at her young face, she would look like the wife of a rich family, except for her figure, which was still unattractive. Indeed, it must be because someone was secretly protecting her. Otherwise, how could she have achieved so much in such a short period of time? Madame Yao narrowed her eyes slightly. Nanny Qian, who was beside her, quickly tugged at her. How did you know Manager Gu? Madame Yao secretly took a deep breath and asked softly. Her family. Peng Zhongfei suddenly stopped talking. He couldn't say it. That matter couldn't be leaked. He finally raised his head and glanced at Madame Yao. Why are you asking this? I'm just curious. Shopkeeper Gu doesn't look very old. I heard that she just came here as a refugee. Why does it seem like Master is very familiar with her? Last time, you even asked me to prepare a gift for her house completion celebration. I was just thinking that now that Shopkeeper Gu has opened a shop in the county city, there will be more opportunities to visit her in the future. Peng Zhongfei waved his hand. Indeed. In the future, take care of her business more and take care of her more. I gave them more money today. They should be happy, right? He was referring to the non-existent old man, but it sounded to Madame Yao that Peng Zhongfei was trying to please Gu Yundong. Madame Yao could only laugh dryly and could not continue the conversation. Master did not intend to talk about how he and Gu Yundong met. It seemed that there was more to this than met the eye. Nanny Qian lowered her head at the side and became even more frightened when she heard young Master's words. When they arrived at the Peng residence, Peng Zhongfei carried the bag of white sugar and left. Nanny Qian trembled as she helped Madame Yao back to the Rui garden. As soon as they entered the house, Madame Yao sneered. You're really capable. Nanny Qian knew who she was talking about. She lowered her head slightly and said, Young madam, perhaps that's not what young master meant. That girl can't meet young master's requirements at all. Doesn't that mean that she's capable? After Madame Yao walked around the house twice, she suddenly said to Nanny Qian, Go and call that Gu Xian'er over. Yes, Nanny Qian quickly replied and left. Chapter 210, Don't like that. Ever since Gu Xian'er returned from the Gu family, she had been promoted as a second-class maid. She guessed that it was probably because Nanny Qian had told her about her relationship with Gu Yundong that young madam had such intentions. Perhaps she wanted her to help do something. However, young madam did not see her much after that. This made Gu Xian'er feel a little conflicted. Fortunately, as a second-class maid, her work became much easier. Her monthly salary was also raised, and she even had the time to dress up. She even understood a lot of things in the Peng residence. For example, young madam was a jealous and scheming person, and concubine Xiao was favored. Young master liked women with curves. Be it concubines or servant girls, they were all this type. Unexpectedly, Nanny Qian came over today to say that young madam was looking for her. Gu Xian'er tidied her clothes and hair before following Nanny Qian to the Rui garden obediently. There was no one else in Madame Yao's house other than her. When she saw Gu Xian'er, she looked up slightly. Have a seat. Gu Xian'er was flattered and carefully sat down on a chair at the side. A trace of disdain flashed across Madame Yao's eyes. She took a sip of tea and asked, I heard that you and that girl called Gu Yundong are cousins? Yes, young madam. Gu Yundong is indeed my cousin. It's just that, she hesitated. She doesn't have a good relationship with me. Then how well do you know her? Do you think the young master will like her? Gu Xian'er was stunned. For some reason, she felt excited. However, she still looked like she was thinking carefully. After a moment, she said uncertainly, I don't think so. Young madam, my cousin used to be very weak. I don't know what happened on her way to escape. She has changed a lot. Oh. What's changed? It's just that she's bold. In the past, she cried at the drop of a hat and didn't like to go out. But that day, when I saw her in Yongfu village, I felt that she wasn't messy at all. She talked to people in a very organized way and didn't look like a country girl at all. I don't know if someone taught her. She frowned and thought and answered as if she was not scheming at all. However, Madame Yao narrowed her eyes slightly. Did someone teach her? Then why do you think that young master won't like her? Gu Xian'er touched her head and said softly, I just think that she looks average. Be it her temperament or appearance, she's far inferior to madam. Young master would never like her. Moreover, if young master really likes her, why didn't he just take her as a concubine instead of letting her hang out with other men in that countryside? Is that so? Yes, so young madam doesn't need to care about her at all. Madame Yao chuckled softly and rubbed the lid of the cup with her fingers. Chapter 211, How much did you earn? Gu Xian'er said, Young madam, you can invite my cousin to the residence and ask her personally. Will she answer honestly? Young madam, you're extremely smart. Regardless of whether she answers honestly or not, you will definitely get an answer. Madame Yao took a sip of tea and looked at Gu Xian'er with a faint smile. After a while, she nodded. That makes sense. All right, I understand. You can leave. Yes, I'll take my leave. Gu Xian'er went down. When she walked out of the Rui garden, she couldn't control the excitement on her face. Gu Yundong, oh Gu Yundong, this is the price you have to pay for not helping me. As soon as she left, Nanny Qian approached Madame Yao and whispered, Young madam, this Gu Xian'er simply wants to use you to deal with that girl from the Gu family. After learning a few idioms, she actually tried to flatter her master. Of course I know. She thinks she's so smart, but she only knows how to play tricks. She's just a clown. Madame Yao sneered and looked down on Gu Xian'er. However, I do want to invite shopkeeper Gu to the residence as a guest. Young madam, Madame Yao waved her hand. Gu Xian'er is right. No matter what relationship shopkeeper Gu has with master, I will see something. Besides, I'll only invite her over as a guest and chat with her. As for the rest, isn't Gu Xian'er around? Let them fight. Nanny Qian beamed. Young madam is still the smartest. All right, it's the Laba festival in 2 days. Send the Laba porridge to the Gu family and invite her over as a guest. Yes. Gu Yundong did not know that she had been targeted again. After opening the shop for a day, the white sugar was snatched up in the morning. The other sweets were almost gone. It was only halfway through the afternoon when she closed the door. At noon, Dong Xiulan brought the 3 children back to Yongfu village with Luan. She was thinking about the work at the workshop. Although Gu Yundong said that he would still give her a salary for the entire day, Dong Xiulan felt that she could not help with the shop in the afternoon. It was not good to take the salary for the entire day, so she insisted on going back to work. She went back, but Lu Wei didn't leave. Seeing that the shop was closed, he hurriedly came over. Quick, take a look at how much money we earned today. Gu Yundong glanced at him. You're an outsider. Why should I count the money in front of you? Lu Wei was speechless. Friendship over, friendship over. He turned around angrily and left. After taking 2 steps, he came back unwillingly. He glared and said, even if you didn't say it, I could have deduced it. How many caddies of sugar did she sell today and how many candies did she sell? Did she think he was blind? Gu Yundong gave him a thumbs up. Not bad. I thought you were just bragging to others. Turns out you know what you're doing. Lu Wei raised his eyebrows. After all, I'm the young master of the Lu family. All right, hurry up and count. In fact, Gu Yundong already had an idea. After all, the price of white sugar was set there. In addition, almost everyone had 5 caddies today. She even saw some people buy another 5 caddies after buying 5 caddies. There were also many people who bought second-rate sweets. The shopkeepers next door thought that white sugar was too expensive. In addition, those rich young masters had it, so they simply bought second-rate sweets to try. Gu Yundong took out the money box and saw that it was filled with banknotes and silver pieces. She slowly took a deep breath. Chapter 212, Looking for the Shopkeeper 900 taels. There was actually 900 taels of silver. This white sugar was too profitable. Lu Wei swallowed his saliva. In fact, he had only estimated 500 taels in his heart at the beginning. He had calculated wrongly. Woo, however, this 900 taels of silver had to deduct the cost to be what she had earned today. Still, the cost was not high at all. Gu Yundong also secretly took a deep breath. Her eyes lit up. She was finally a millionaire. If she continued to work hard, she would become a billionaire. With money, Gu Yundong became much more generous. She gave 2 taels to everyone present. It's been hard on everyone today. Shao Qingyuan didn't even look at it and directly put away the silver. The 4 members of the Tong family held the silver and beamed with joy. Madame Yang thought for a moment and took a bite. Realizing that it was real, she handed it to Gu Yundong very preciously. Keep it. It won't be lost. Gu Yundong took it. All right, let me know what you want to buy later. Gu Yunshu stared at the silver in his hand. It was 2 taels. This was 2 taels, a whole 2 taels of silver. The little guy chuckled and put the silver into a small bag in his bag. Yes, he would save it for now. In the future, if his family needed it urgently, he would hand it to his eldest sister. Gu Yunka tilted her head and stared at the silver. She did not know much about 2 taels of silver and did not even know what to buy. She gave it to Gu Yundong. I'll give it to eldest sister. Lu Wei held the silver like a fool. He clearly had more than 1,000 taels of silver with him, but it was not as precious as these 2 taels of silver. He always felt that this was earned through his own hard work. The meaning was different. He put the silver aside and looked at Gu Yundong with sparkling eyes. Gu girl, how about I be your shopkeeper? In the future, give me 2 taels of silver a day. Every day? That was 60 taels of silver a month. Which shopkeeper would be so expensive? He was robbing money. Gu Yundong smiled insincerely and said, No, you're the eldest young master of the Lu family. You have millions of assets waiting for you to inherit. How can I trouble you with just 2 taels of silver? It's too much of a waste of your talent. It's all right. I don't mind the small amount of money. Anyway, I don't rely on that bit of salary to live. Lu Wei waved his hand, looking very nonchalant. Shao Qingyuan glanced at him. We despise you. Gu Yundong nodded vigorously. Indeed, someone who spoke the truth needed to wake up this wastrel. Lu Wei almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Why? Your price is too high. We can't afford it. How is it high? Look at how much money you earned in a day. 2 taels of silver is not even a fraction. Forget it, 1 tael is fine. Shao Qingyuan ignored him. He turned to Gu Yundong and said, But the shop is indeed short of a shopkeeper and clerks. We can't let you look after the shop every day. Unfortunately, my father isn't around. Gu Dajiang had once been an accountant in a restaurant and had some experience. He was actually the most suitable candidate. Lu Wei stomped his feet at the side. I already said that I'll be the shopkeeper. Shao Qingyuan thought for a moment and said, I have a suitable candidate. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. Who? Me. Lu Wei shouted, You'll regret it if you don't invite me. I have a lot of connections in this county. Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong looked at each other and gave the Tong brothers a look at the same time. The 2 of them quickly dragged Lu Wei away. If there's anything you need to know about the shop, you can just ask me. Zheng Gang smiled. The boss thinks highly of me. I, Zheng Gang, will definitely not let you down. As for the monthly salary, it's temporarily set at 5 taels of silver. If you do it well, I will increase it. She had some understanding. The prices and wages in the county city were not comparable to the prefectural city. Most of the shopkeepers here only had 3 to 4 taels of silver a month. Of course, a big restaurant like the Lu family's was different. However, if she did well, she would not treat the shopkeeper badly. Zheng Gang immediately nodded. All right. When he was a shopkeeper in the prefectural city, he only earned 5 taels a month. He had worked for many years before raising it by 2 taels. After agreeing on the time for work the next day, Zheng Gang went back. Now that the shopkeeper had been confirmed, she still needed a waiter. This waiter did not necessarily need to be experienced. With Zhenggang leading him, it was not a big problem to help move the goods in the shop and entertain the customers. The most important thing was to be clever. At the mention of cleverness, a person flashed across Gu Yundong's mind. I've been invited to work as a shop assistant. How could a rotten person like him, who couldn't even be a short-term worker when he went to town, become a shop assistant? For some reason, he felt like crying. Zhuangzi turned around abruptly and wiped his face forcefully with his sleeve. Gu Yundong laughed. What's wrong? Are you unwilling? Yes, of course. Zhuangzi immediately turned around. His eyes were still a little red, but he hurriedly nodded. The Shi couple and Lan Hua nodded vigorously. He's willing. Well, the salary is 1 tael a month for the time being. If you do well, we will increase it. If you agree, you can follow me to the county tomorrow. There's a courtyard there that you can stay in. You can come back if you want. If it's too late and you're too tired, you can stay in the shop. Zhuangzi nodded vigorously. 1 tael of silver. He had heard that the shop assistants in the workshop only earned 500 copper coins. Actually, he also wanted to go to the workshop, but Gu Yundong wanted honest and reliable people. He admitted that he was not. Besides, he still had to keep an eye on Madame Fong and Zhao Dafa. At the thought of this, Zhuangzi suddenly reacted. Then Madame Fong, you're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.